Call to order the Public Works and Utility Committee meeting at the Lisbon Village Hall in the boardroom on Wednesday, September 20th, 2023, 5 p.m. in the evening. And we'll do a roll call, please.
Chairman Trustee Moonen
Here.
and Vice Chair Trustee Beal
Here.
and Committee Member Joe Everly,
Here.
Committee Member Dan Plass,
Here.
Committee Member Jane Miller,
Here.
Administrator Nicholas.
Here.
DPW Director Joe DeStefano,
Here.
Utility Accountant Mike Sargent,
Here.
and Clerk Elisa Capazzo Catch to record the minutes. Engineer Don Neitzel is delayed.
All right, we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, citizens comment in present. Anyone wishing to speak, please stand to the podium. Second call. Nobody's present. Zoom check.
Nobody's on Zoom.
Nobody's on Zoom. All right. Moving on, approval of meeting minutes, August 16th, 2023, the Public Works Committee. We met and minutes are in the packet. If anyone's got any questions? Nobody's got questions, looking for a approval motion.
I make a motion, we approve the August 16th minutes as presented.
Motion made by trustee Beal. Second by Mr. Everly. Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I abstain.
And Jane will abstain. All right, departmental reports. We'll start with the Department of Public Works, Joe DeStefano Jr.
All right, good evening. Outside of my report that you've seen in your packet, a couple things to note for the last month. We completed the restoration work at the basketball court, installed basketball court at Lisbon Park. And it turned out really nice, I think, and they had a grand opening and memorial event there on September 9th. That had a great turnout and I think everybody loves it. It's a neat place and the grass is growing and coming in nice. So, yeah. Let's play ball, I guess. Crosswalk was completed with the Village of Vernon. We talked about this at previous meetings. Now we worked with them, met out on Lake 5, did it one morning, went really well. We teamed up, laid it all out, turned out really nice. Was good. Actually had a few compliments as we were out there from residents who driving by, rolling their window down, saying thank you. So that turned out nice. And then while we were there, we went down to the cemetery and touched that one up and worked our way down and buttoned up a few things on Lake 5 right away. Roadside mowing, the second round had been completed just this last week. We'll probably just do a quick run around after crops are cut and all that here, probably in another month or so. Wooded Hill, the tank replacement on that grinder pump that we talked about here and had approved was completed last week. Thursday was it? Or Thursday? That's fine, but either way, they had been completed, went very well, moved one day in and out. There's just a little restoration work. We're gonna go back and plant some grass and get that going, but resident was happy. It really went well and worked with that new contractor and we were very happy. So that's done and behind us. I did get a request on legs on a stop sign, just as one of my guys, if they were out. Maybe something we put on an agenda going forward, I guess, because I get those requests on either a speed limit sign or a stop sign and adding flags or the so. Maybe we should put some kind of plan in place because I sit there as the nice guy sometimes and I'm, yeah, we can provide. They're minimal. I get it. They're a couple dollars, plus we have them in stock and we have the brackets, but we can't do it easily. Do we want to do that all the time? I don't. Well,
Those are just bent or something?
no, the signs are there just to add like, or like.
Oh,
make it
and
more
you said,
aware.
oh,
And it's on a stop sign that's been there for 10, 20 years, I would say, so it was kind of like, going to my meeting with this stuff a little bit. I don't think we can really get into it, but then I made a note, maybe we had that, I don't know. Do we?
And what was the sign for?
A stop sign, and she said, claim that people blow it, or just don't stop. Whether they're, I'm assuming purposely rolling through it, obviously, it's that mountain shadows area. Where Ironwood East goes in the mountain shadows and the stop sign right there, it's View and or whatever, so. It was just, I'm like, well, you could do that at every stop sign.
Yeah.
So it's not half a thing, but either way, we can get in that another day.
I guess. Not that we're here to discuss it, but I think we
Yeah.
can solve that with a request to the sheriff's department for patrol. I can't see setting an example of allowing.
Right.
Flags on
And the
top.
flags are $6 and then they fade anyways, and then you take them down, they look like garbage and. You don't ever put them back up, so it's like, what did they really accomplish? You're not that. We did some good extensive repairs on one of the ambulances that had a radiator leak, another coolant leak, we got it, checked it, and it was a good, just timed out well that we were able to take it in, so. Did the radiator, battery cables on this thing, so it was nice, it was the one that's leaking, that's not gonna get replaced by these two new ones, I hope they'll be here soon, so. Definitely a good cost saving on that, by able to do it in-house. We can't always do things in-house, but, when we're busy, I gotta tell the fire department, no, but we do all the PM stuff, so I figured I'd just touch on this a little bit, since I don't know if everybody knows it, but anything where annually, we take in all the engines and the tankers and the tenders, just because they don't need to be serviced twice a year necessarily, they don't get the hours and the miles, but we go through them all, make sure we don't see anything alarming. With the ambulances and the smaller vehicles that do get miles, we change the oil as needed, so maybe a few times a year. So we keep all that in-house, but when it gets to be a bigger repair, depending on our workload and what we're doing and staffing of that week or whatever, it just depends, but this time worked out well. We, Scott and George tackled that through the radiator and battery cables and fixed a couple of little things they found, so that was nice. I think outside of that. For my report, any questions?
Any questions for Joe?
Yeah, DeBellick didn't do the tank work in Wooded Hills. It was the other fella. And what did he charge?
Out in front of me was like 6,300.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Just the tank.
Pump went back in, they dug around, you got the in and out pipes connected, and then, dropped the pump back.
How about how about the locks? Did you get those in yet?
They're ordered.
Okay,
Unfortunately, there's
okay,
nothing that's sitting around there right now, so it's the farm.
thank you.
That new sign for community park on Road 5 was really, really nice. I just hope that somebody has followed into the.
Yeah.
It looks really nice.
So my brother, he did that for us, so it turned out really nice and it saved us a few bucks from, the other kind that big lady does, which are nice looking, but we just didn't want to spend the money and then have that situation where this sign still isn't free, but at least it's been a month,
I think it looks great.
I do too.
I mean, you notice it when you go down there. and
Long
it's-
overdue, long. I
Yeah,
don't know why, I guess we didn't.
because the other sign was about this
Yeah.
big and
I agree.
I think you guys did a great job.
I know we did the crosswalk in-house. What was the total cost for it? Estimate?
We shared the sign cost. So when I went to line to get the sign and I just told her to send this sign and this sign and this post to her and this, but we have post in stock, so signs, I think for $70, our cost, what we paid and they paid the 70. I have in stock. I had all the equipment to put it down, so we didn't even buy both, so
okay.
it literally probably cost us $70 and labor. So not too shabby.
No, especially
turned out
considering
really
what it
nice.
was gonna cost to farm it out.
Yeah, and we did it, I don't know if some of you I think are aware of it and seen it, but we did it long and then it turns and connects to the two, little.
Did it the right way.
to the sidewalk.
It was.
Mhm.
I think, it was the four heads of, because we laid it all out just with
Yeah.
tape measure and quick on the fly, like nothing was fancy and we laid it all out and I think it turned out really good and now you got what you got down, now it's easy to maintain, you just,
Mhm.
it's right over the top of the next.
I have a quick question talking about signs, Joe. I haven't noticed a change, but it still says the town of Lisbon out here. So when are we gonna, is that gonna be changed or what?
But I know I brought it up once.
wanted to look into it. I have had, one of our. I've had, Land and Stone ask about us. If you'd like to sell it.
Oh,
So I haven't brought it to you.
okay.
Where do those critters run? Please,
The regular ones are like six grand. But
that's what I asked.
yeah, they asked if we were gonna do the same thing. I wasn't sure because if you move, if you put something in cement and, block, how long, how easy is that? So, and then,
Okay.
he was suggesting that we would look at plans that would donate us and do something.
Probably with some land and stone building
That-
Yeah.
instead of concrete block.
Yeah, plans.
Mhm.
I have one more thing, while just going back since nobody was here about it, I did make a note to bring it up because I said I would. So we did get calls about Batter John, cars running through there, but I've had the calls from the first day I worked here randomly till now, and it is a cut through the road that runs parallel with Lake 5, so a lot of people that come from the east on VV, maybe Beacon Hills, Thousand Oaks, Woodland Oaks come there, and then they use Batter John to cut over to MD rather than going that little bit further west and pick up Lake 5, but whatever. And that a car blew past the school bus and then the other, but there's stop signs there. Truly, I don't know what more can be done, but Joe lives in there and he's had other issues, so I mean, people are trying, so. You may see something on an email coming through that I'll be asked to be put on an agenda.
Yeah, it should be on the agenda for October, so I told him I would do that, and we put the agenda. So we can put it on the agenda for this meeting for next month. I'm surprised that the arts person. Maybe I dissuaded them enough. If you would, please, Ken. Thank you.
A sign?
No, it's just put in traffic on Batter John Drive. I mean, it's wider than just
I
signs.
mean,
It's,
what do we, what's the action? What are you thinking of doing?
well, what a couple of residents in that subdivision desire is to eliminate the traffic on Batter John, and I tried to convince them on my front porch, it ain't gonna happen. They were still pretty vehement about that, and their concern, is their children who load on the bus there at 2 bus stops, and I believe there's a way that we can take care of that with the school and the bus company. But I told them that there's no way that anybody can do anything to assure that everybody in the world's gonna stop at those stop signs and that the traffic will somehow decrease. One of the residents told me that he ordered himself speed bumps from Amazon and they're coming this week and he's gonna put them up there. And I told him that he probably shouldn't do that, but whatever. They're pretty radical.
It's a fun.
Well,
And then you take money.
what I told him was, you can put all the speed bumps out there, it's not gonna stop the problem. So it is what it is. So anyway, I think the agenda item should be traffic on Batter John, and we take care of the bus stops and the traffic and signs all in one.
Is there a sign that says no through traffic?
No, you can't, there used to be one a long time ago, it was taken down because you can't do it.
Oh, really? Okay,
It's a public street.
There
that's
is a
true.
no through trucking sign on each end, they stole that, I mean, the trucks weren't coming through there, but.
But we've got 4 houses under construction, so
Yeah.
there's gonna be trucks.
Oh, yeah.
So, and there's still half dozen lots to be built on, so we're gonna have trucks till I'm go through the chippers. So it is what it is. The trucks are not the problem, I can tell you that, I live 500 feet from the intersection of questions.
All right, utility district, Don.
Okay, good evening. In your packets, my report for the month. I guess starting the flows for August that we got from Sussex, everything appeared to be in line for the month at Janine lift station, the Plainview system in Willow Springs. They're averaging right around 17, 18 gallons per minute. Nothing really stood out in terms of anything weird with the flows on those. Richmond School Lift Station. The flows there appeared in line as well. We didn't have the blip on the radar like we did last month. So everything appears good there. We also did get the letter out, or Kathy got the letter out to Richmond School. I actually did hear back from Ed Blake already, heard back from him last week. They are willing to, they'd like to move forward with this right away. But he wanted some contacts with televising and things like that, so I provided him 3 of them. He did give me some as-built, actually 3 sets, one from 1972, one from 75, and one from 97. I haven't had a chance to look them too in depth yet, but he at least shot some stuff over right away. So he said the school does want to be proactive and get on it.
Okay. Thank you.
That was a nice letter.
Mhm. Yes,
Moving on, Business Park East, everything's done basically with that project. The last thing is, we just need to confirm all the punch list items have been addressed. I think the county's reached out to me about one issue on the side of the east side of Town Line Road. Some restoration work on seating, but I think that was from the electric company, so I'll check on that on my way out tonight. And then there's a patch from the gas company that needs to be done yet on Town Line, right by Leeds, the lane. I was on the phone with Payne and Dolan and the sub for We Energies for that to get taken care of.
don't they do that?
Is that,
Their electric company and, yeah,
it wasn't getting done, so like, the paving company.
but thank you.
Any questions on that?
Mm-mm.
Got questions. Keep going.
All right, manhole and sewer repairs, Drew from Vision Sewer reached out to me. They're gonna try to fit our project in, it's just some filler work. If it doesn't fit in there, they got it on the schedule right now for early November. For them to do that, that was manhole lining and, so, and I explained to him we're capped at 15,000, anything, because they approach it, they're gonna need. The sewer system maps, I do have updated maps for everybody. These would be the ones that would show active accounts.
Good.
Accounts that currently aren't active, and we think they're hooked up, ones where there's not sewer in front. It can actually, if you want to pass it out right now. So everybody can-
Are we going to?
We can get them up. I can get them up later on.
Thank you. Do we need to keep this open? To talk about it?
You might just the front page, so I can talk you through it quick.
Okay. How you doing, Mike? Are you doing okay? I worry about you. Huh?
I'm fine. My wife had a bad accident.
Oh, no. Did she fall?
Yep.
Oh, no. Is she home?
No, she's still in the hospital.
I'll take a
Oh, my gosh.
The village health copy anyway, so.
This is wonderful. Thank you.
I'll ask my usual obnoxious question. When whole actor, you get these things out. I know the last ones, these are better than the last one, right?
Right, so
Based upon what you are physically able to do.
since the last meeting, Kathy and I talked, there were some parcels, kind of west of what's the park there, south of Plainview?
Stone Town.
Yeah, there were some parcels there that we still had shown that were in the village, that were actually in the village of Sussex. We got those straightened out. We went through the televised records probably 2 or 3 times. We went through this. So everywhere we have a lateral drawn, that's where laterals are shown in the televised records right now. So I guess if you look at it, all the parcels you see in green, those are active accounts. So they have a sewer lateral and they're a paying customer. The pink And if anybody's colorblind or having issues looking at that, let me know, please, and we can change colors. The pink is a non-active account, but a potential user, because we show that there's a, at least the sewer televising shows there's a ladder in that ladder, at least a Y.
Number 68 is a brand new house. Over
Those are manhole movers.
well, right here. I'm just saying 68 right here. This is that's a brand new house within a year. How did they not get hooked up to sewer?
That would be one where there's no sewer in front of it. I mean, there's a manhole there, but
Well, then how about these people? How did they get it over there? If this, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know. That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going with this is.
Wow.
So the pink is non-active, but a potential user because there's at least a Y out in front of their house off the main.
Wow. Okay.
The white ones that are there, those are no hookups and there's no sewer available. It's not in front of them. The blue is a no hookup, but there's sewer available. And the only one on that is up at the corner of Scott Street and Longview. Kathy and I looked at that one. At one point in time.
And what did you say? I'm sorry.
Scott Street.
The blue one is what?
They're not hooked up, but there's sewer available.
And that was a plumber's house originally. Mhm.
Just to back one up, Don, if you're done, Linda, over on one of these white ones, on Forest Hill Lane. I assume, to the west of Plainview,
Uh-huh.
why is that lot that's shown as white? That sewer is available if that sewer is that far.
Just northwest of manhole 118.
Right here.
Yeah, yeah.
Sewer is available to them, the sewer is past there, why isn't that one considered available?
That's true. Yeah, that one can get added.
And the only other thing I have, I mean, I just looked at these for 10 seconds, if you could, the next time you ran these, don't need to do them now. Could we just put stripes on the pink, because I know what's gonna happen, the orange is gonna look like the pink, look like the orange.
Yeah.
Just put a diagonal line on it, because being an old person, I can't tell the difference.
When he brought these up, that's kind of what I was thinking, that those two colors.
I mean, otherwise, this is beautiful, I love the scale of it, and I haven't looked at any other, but that one just popped out to me.
So the last one that, as I was looking through these with our GIS guy, the one that stood out to me was some of these that are served, but we have no record of where their lateral is. And that's the one that's got the red crosses on it. We just came up with a symbol for now.
Just repeat that again.
These people are showing, they came up on the list that Mike provided as an active account that they have sewer. But when we look at the televised records, there's no record of a lateral going off from that.
Well, the one on Rolling Hills Drive, for instance, the, to the
Right.
east of London,
Yep,
where the heck are they getting their sewer from unless
Exactly.
they came through their neighbor's lot?
Yep.
I see what you're talking, the same way with,
you look down off of Hamilton Drive, they front the force main, but they don't front the sewer. I mean, there's a few of them like that.
yeah,
This one over here on Rolling Hills, just so you know, I believe it was hooked up from Longview Drive. It comes through the backyard because it wasn't in front of their house. I know. See that one? The X. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
so the only laterals, Don, that are shown on here is what has been able to be verified by televising records.
Correct.
So therefore,
Now, those are the ones that are going into the pipe.
okay,
If they're coming in the manhole, I don't know if they're catching them or not. It's tough, they only take a picture looking down on the manhole, so it's tough to see if a pipe's coming in or not. So that some of these, like on a cul-de-sac, some of these maybe are coming into a manhole and just need to be checked and verified.
well, as an example, on the corner of Rolling Hills and Longview, there's two lots that are shown with no lateral. So they may be coming into the manhole.
Right. In some of these too, you'll see there's maybe two laterals to one lot, but not to the neighboring lot. And that's because all we're doing is we just see what's at the main.
Yeah.
So when they actually ran the lateral out, they took it to the other lot, it's actually there. But for whatever reason, when they tapped them in front of the one lot. So,
Wow.
It's cheaper to dig one hole.
but yeah, so all the televised records we got, we've probably been through them 3 or 4 times since that last meeting. This is what we ended up with.
Well, at least we get a chance to take it.
And then the second map is just. That's just Business Park East, Willow Springs, and then Richmond School. Like, figured you're doing one map, we better include the one too. So.
Only one property on one, the only property that's not hooked up that.
That's not hooked up to that sewer available in front of them.
What about the second place?
Yeah, it's not on here.
One right
Yeah,
the first pink one.
okay.
The first pink one next to Louis Ford.
Yep.
That first one should be getting it. Looks like there's.
No, that, they
looks
got,
like there's a lateral there, but
they got a lateral.
You're talking about the square property or the triangle?
trying.
That's that newer house.
It's that two ladies that
Yeah.
bought it for 4 and some thousand. Supposedly, if I remember, they're on service, they're just not paying. I'm
That might
trying,
be the one that's, yeah,
yeah,
they don't wanna pay back.
no. And I don't know if the previous owner had paid for the hookup too on that one.
Thought we had 3
Yeah, me
That-
too.
were
Mike, do you remember?
supposed to be hooked up, one
There-
hooked up recently.
Yeah,
Yeah, the one on this map. was
Yep, and
messy.
he's showing, we showed him as active.
okay. Now, is this on
Do you remember which,
Longview?
which, property it is?
I don't remember the address. though.
It's the one that's just east of Manhole 88 on Longview.
Oh, I know that one. I'm talking about the one that we're missing.
Oh, okay.
Missing one in blue.
I mean, there's
There's 3 houses.
a number of lots out here that have sewer in front of them that aren't hooked up, like on the north end of Freeze or whatever it is.
Freeze place.
Yeah, you look at the one on the.
Yep.
On the north end, on the east, on the west side, it doesn't show a lateral going to it.
And the north, then on the west side.
Just south of manhole
So-
81.
Southwest.
Oh, there it
It
is. It's
comes-
coming
yeah,
off
it
the
comes
top.
off the
Okay,
north
excellent. I
one. Yep.
misspoke.
Yep, I looked at that same thing when I looked at this.
How about the one that's over on Longview? Can we talk about that one already on the east side at the end, just southwest of manhole 84? Oh yeah, there is a little line.
Yeah, that one comes off there as well.
This question may have been asked and answered, and but maybe we don't even know the answer, but why, Bramble and Gulfview where they meet? And Longview right in the middle. Those are, I know by age to drive around, I know, none of that's new. Why are those areas actually don't even have it in front of it? It's not like that the phase, and not this is the question, there's no phases there, these are all the same.
No, we looked at that, there was a lot. 2 years ago, maybe that somebody looked at wanting to purchase up there.
Right, I remember that.
So we looked at the potential of trying to run gravity sewer up there, there's no grade left to get gravity up there, so then it was a.
But what was, why did those, 7 properties there and 6 on Longview just not even get involved back in the day? Yeah,
Because it was mentioned years ago,
gerrymander.
no, yeah, trying to think of the accountant who was the head of the district. He recommended that they have votes per street. And if the number of votes weren't, more than didn't want it, you didn't get it.
Sure, good, like there,
That's
especially Longview, it's just an island right in the middle.
I know.
It's the same thing if you look at Good Hope,
Yeah,
The
Yeah.
whole north side of Good Hope's in, the whole south side
Yeah.
except for, what's
It's,
her name? It just,
it's an absolute.
Yes, yeah.
It's a mess.
It's a mess. It really is a mess.
Same kind.
Yeah, I think too bad, too, in hindsight, everybody should win
Sure.
because this is just a mess.
Oh, it's not gonna get better.
No, I'm,
It's a good question, great observation.
Well, yeah.
You're absolutely right. The mess.
But some of the properties weren't developed either.
Right, but they were there, you know, I could see if the road wasn't put in yet, then I'd say, well, then I get it, but I can tell you right now, if the guys on the end of Longview have it, the other guys in the middle have, you know, there were,
Yeah.
the road already went past their lot.
Yeah.
Not that they bought them yet or anything.
and if there was empty lots,
Yeah.
nothing on it,
Sure.
the homeowner, the landowner had an option to go with it and pay for the intercept and just be put there. But some of them didn't think, I don't want to pay for it unless I use it and sell it and build a home. So they just opted out.
One of the things, you know, to that point, Joe. I would believe, it's obviously my personal opinion, before any. Work is done on any of these streets, like you just observed. That we have a discussion whether or not we want to extend that sewer before you go out there and repave those roads and we end up with a mess.
Well, her part is they're about
Yeah,
5 years
newer.
old only, so.
No,
It's not
Yeah.
anytime soon, but I hear you, that's a good point.
Mhm.
Well, you're gonna be here for 80 more years, so you.
We'll put it on.
Yeah.
So we don't end up kicking ourselves in the, what, twice. Or 3 times. These are great guys.
and then the last one I point out, the peach color, that's grinder pump. So based on the list we were provided, that's where grinder pumps are at.
More than what it is.
So does the north
Then I'll-
corner,
We completed this comment.
does the north corner of Plainview, does that go into the manhole 146, the grinder?
146.
It goes into 160.
Oh, I see. Okay. The house is that far back.
Yeah.
Well, that's the one of the air. Relief valves are in that backyard of the horse pasture, so I think it's from out here to that and then out to
Gotcha.
the back.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful job. Thank you, Dan. Don? Yeah, thank you.
Mike just told me it looks like there's some grinders missing. He's gonna give me the list out of the package. We'll clean that up, but. So as you're looking at, it, if you come up with stuff, let me know, or we'll cross hatch some of that, so make it stand out.
Why isn't this, oh, I know, Wooded Hills. Why isn't this one hooked up over here? There's sewer across the street. Why isn't that hooked up? There's sewer right here. Why isn't that hooked up? Unless I'm looking at
That's the
this
one-
wrong.
That's what we have labeled as a non-active account, but they're a potential user because they have sewer. So they're not.
So
It's there and they should be, but because it's there.
they should be hooked up. Are letters being sent to them too? If they have it in front of their yard, they must hook up within a year. That's state law.
Sent out 3 letters.
One, two,
Kathy, is your mic on?
there's one
Sent
on,
out 3 letters. I think one was to Scott. And 2 were on Longview.
there's one on Hamilton and there's one on Chestnut
What's that?
and Alta Vista. I'm shocked that that isn't. And one way over here.
Where, I guess I don't see where on Alta Vista because it stops. There's only 4 properties on Alta Vista that don't have it. that
Alta
are
Vista is
free.
between number 37 and 22, right on the corner,
It's the pink-
manholes, yeah.
Be right in- right
Yeah,
in
but
there.
that says there is a lateral to the
There's a
property. They're
lateral.
just not paying it
Right.
Right,
for it.
that's another letter that has to be
That's a
sent,
different letter, yeah.
yeah.
But we're
So all
just
the-
trying to capture the 2 properties we have to. Move forward on with their attorney, that's all.
Okay,
Moving, Jen, are we gonna tackle that last one or are we gonna wait till the agenda item?
You can wait for the agenda item. Fred.
and here's another one right here.
All right, any specific questions on Don's monthly report?
Yes, I do, sure. On your report, if you have the same sheets, 1, 2, 3, the fourth sheet, Don, on Richmond School, it says Richmond School flows and run times. Yep. I just noticed that there's flows on Saturday and Sunday at Richmond. I realize they've got basketball games up there, but it just seems kind of weird to me. On August 5th, there's 9,600. On August 6th, there's 6,600. On August 12th, there's 9,600. On August 13th, there's 12,000. I mean, if you look at the Saturdays and Sundays for all of August, there's flows. And they didn't have basketball games up there then. And if you go into the following sheet for September, they show 7,200 gallons on Labor Day. Which leads me to believe we got an inflow problem. That's that's significant.
I'm gonna check with Dennis just to make sure, because this is coming off of their SCADA system.
Yeah.
So let me double
Yeah,
check
they
with
aren't
him.
off by, I just started doing this because I'm anal. And I'm
Right.
going like, how can you have 14,400 gallons on a Sunday on August 20th? And how can you have 7,200 gallons on Labor Day? I can guarantee you there were no basketball games up there.
And
there
that's
aren't
only-
kids to produce that.
This is only school flows. It's not, doesn't have anything to do with our fire department.
Well, fire station comes into that same station.
That's,
Right.
that's what I was saying. We could have had
But
something going.
They can't be using, there aren't that many people in the fire station use that much.
Yeah, they'd have to have.
You'd have to have 50 people.
Let me check with Dennis on their SCADA and the reporting for this, just to make sure it's not something
Okay,
on their end first, but.
that's
No, that'd be a good
that's the only questions I have on that. It seems kind of sketchy to me. Okay, thank you.
Is that your only question? You have more?
Yes, go on.
Anyone else have questions for Don? All right. Thanks, Don.
Thank you.
Mike Sargent.
Don has already gone over the flows, everything from the accounting perspective on the bills for the electric and for the sewer were consistent with what we were thinking. During the month of August, we worked on the preliminary budget for the sanitary or for the utility. And one interesting thing is there was a grinder pump call on Chestnut Hill on September 13th for the same reason that we had a call on May 23rd. On the 23rd, we replaced a switch. And then on September 13th, they went out again on a switch, replaced the switch and decided that it's a board and that there's ordered a part. We haven't seen a bill for that part yet, but there's something else going on. So it seems a little peculiar that we got 2 calls at the same address for the same problem in a very short period of time.
Wow.
Joel, is that within your scope to rectify?
I guess where I would start is we could make a transition from their first call as developed to either us or that other guy we used on that tank. 'Cause
Well, I think the issue here is that the first
I didn't
time
even
out,
hear
he didn't really resolve the problem.
Sure.
The problem was the panel, but
Right, and
So
that's
the-
why I'm saying maybe this other guy is, he's saying, not saying anything bad about anybody, I'm just saying maybe we go a different route with who we're asking to service and stuff, and then second. I had no idea that, I mean, those calls are going directly from the resident to develop, and then it happens, and like it's still, so like, we don't. Am I saying we wanna be involved? I mean, time wise, not necessarily, but should we be at least aware of it and then sending out what we wanna send there rather than just randomly develop showing up, you know? I don't know.
I think there's a sticker on their grinder pumps called
There'd
develop.
have to be a letter sent out, obviously, saying do not follow that.
I'm in favor of that.
Yeah.
I'm in favor of.
Won't be that bad.
See what happens.
Jane?
Yeah.
I just think we need to make a decision and see if this new company is even willing to have that on-call status
Right,
for this. And what those costs are gonna be, because I don't know if they would do it for free forever.
Yeah.
I understand they'd probably be interested in the contract, or we probably have to put some kind of a contract together to establish those prices and stuff, but, at the very least, we have to make sure, once we make that decision, that we let our customers know that
Right.
that's a change.
I'll have-
Whether, and maybe at the time you do the padlock change, that would be something that if we get stickers or informational sheets out.
Sure.
So that if they're getting that one-on-one contact
Yeah.
with the village staff, and then they'll know moving forward that change is being made. And then you could literally just take the sticker off or put a new sticker over the top then.
Yeah, I'll have a conversation with him and see what his thoughts are on, does he like that idea, would you wanna be called at midnight, you know, et cetera, and then. I can bring that back to the next meeting and then,
But either way, it sounds like we want to get them to call you or Randy, somebody.
yeah, we could have. the
Or
call
at least if
later.
you've got a relationship with the Bellic, you could even just say, hey, before you, or let me
Yeah.
know if you get a call or.
Sure, before you do anything.
But they don't.
Because
But I think that's where, that if we let develop know, I think that you'd have a decent.
how are we
relationship.
differentiating, because we're gonna have this discussion later this evening, but how is whoever differentiating between the two classes of grinder pump?
Yeah, because
Exactly.
develops not.
No, what I'm saying is, and which gets to a question into here, if this is the entire list of grinder pumps, which it can't be. But
There's 32, I don't know if that.
I counted 47 on this spreadsheet. But the question is, there's two classes, there was a change made, which we're gonna talk about later tonight. About who provided the grinder pumps. So you get a call, or then whoever gets a call, how do they know which of the two classes they are? Because if it was a grinder pump that was paid for by a property owner, we shouldn't be getting those calls. It's not our problem.
Well, eventually we should firm up that list of grinder pumps that are the sanitary district's responsibility.
Discussion we have on the sewer ordinance, but I just want to make sure that's, because I counted twice, it should be the same number. According to the spreadsheet that Mike provided with his report, there's only 47 grinder pumps.
Well, and then those that
Well-
came in after 2020, we just won't, they won't have that developed tag on it because those are the personal purchase of those property.
But
owners.
if I talk to you and we're neighbors and I paid for mine and you didn't pay for yours, and you say my grinder pump just pooped out, what do I do? And the neighbor says, well, you call the Bellic, and that's what's gonna happen. All I'm saying is, I'm trying to avoid today paying for service and repairs on grinder pumps that we don't own.
What grinder pump don't we own?
The one.
If you look at the grinder pump list,
Yeah.
there are 34 grinder pumps which we own on this list.
So you're 47.
There are 47 properties that when they first did them said that if they hook up, they would have to have grinder pumps. There are a lot of properties here that aren't hooked up that would require a grinder pump. Since the ordinance made the change, no grinder pumps have been installed.
Okay, but right now in this list here, there's 47.
No, there's 47 properties that are potential grinder pumps. There are 34 grinder pumps.
So I guess, Mike, for point of clarity, how do we know that?
Because the total is right on the bottom of this.
I know, but so here, I go to number 2 on the list, North 74, West 22139 Alta Vista. How do I know if that has a pump or doesn't?
So you go across, there's no information that a grinder pump was ever installed.
So if you take the 9 off the 47, that's how you get 38. Is that what you're saying?
34.
There's 47 properties listed on it. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that have no information, so that's 39 and 8.
There's 2 more down lower. There's 2 on Wooded Hills.
When was that change in the ordinance done?
3 years.
3 years ago.
Yeah,
Okay, you see what I'm trying to get? I just don't want to be repairing somebody else's grinder pump.
Yeah, I guess I look at the one on, it's West 221 North 7715 Cherry Hill. There's a grinder pump 33 listed here, but there's no information on it.
So that would be 9. They all have a number though, right?
Right, they all have a number.
They just must have got a number.
And all that was, is we went through the as designed things and we looked at every lot that was indicated that would require a grinder pump. All right, well, that's where we created this list. Then we determined that the lots that had grinder pumps, we got the inspection records from DeBollek, what they were charging us to inspect. And when we did, from those inspection records, we determined what grinder pump was there, and we went back in records and found out the last time it had been replaced or installed, and that's how this schedule started. So we could start tracking the grinder pumps and where they were failing and how long they were lasting, etc.
So what does it mean on the one that has a Barnes? It's the only one that has a Barnes pump. It doesn't have a number. What does that mean? It's in between 14 and 15.
But it wasn't on the records of DeBollek of having a grinder pump. When we're looking at the DeBollek records.
Which one are you talking about?
Well,
It's all the rest of these are E1.
it's on Golf View. It's the last one on Golf View listed here. It says
There's an LG.
Barnes. It's between 14 and
Oh, I
15.
see, I'm sorry.
There's
yeah.
no number on it.
Yeah,
So it,
There's also an LG right above that. Barnes, in fact, there's some other I don't know who the heck bought LGs. They're not all, well, there's more down here on the bottom. Who the heck is installing LGs when the rest of these are all E1s?
maybe they had a hard time getting the pump. And they had to, no?
Barnes are, I mean, E1s are a lot easier to get than LGs. or
Oh, okay.
Barnes.
And to clarify, going back to the ordinance saying they would be responsible, I don't think there's any that are privately owned, right?
Right, not yet.
No,
Yeah, we don't, so that when you say we're not working on it, we can't, there ain't one out there that.
Right.
privately owned
Yeah,
yet.
we know
Well, sure.
I mean, I don't know if anybody has taken the time to cross-check this against what Don just gave us.
Yeah.
Cause
But
you
if
could
they
have
put
a,
the money
you
in,
could have a
it's
grinder and a lateral, and they just did it on their own.
Right. They're probably maintaining that, I mean, but you're right.
so Don, to go back to what he just said, was this grinder pump list verified against that? This list?
No, Mike just looked at the map and looked at me and said, I didn't have this.
Okay. But to help Joe, we could get a list just of the addresses of the existing pumps.
I have a list that the Bellick sent me when they did the PM in spring, late winter. That is just the ones that they went to. It is not the extra ones that have options, so.
So to me, if a neighbor called and said to come fix my pump and it's not on his list, then Joe could just say, sorry, you're not on our list.
But we don't have it.
We're slowly cleaning up this disaster, and I'm just we all are trying to rectify this against this, because you could have a gravity lateral and still have a grinder pump. So it's a chicken and a banana, so we're getting there, step by step, but
Well, in the last 5 years, we have not paid a bill on a grinder pump that isn't on this list. Because as soon as we get a bill, we cross that bill into this list and keep track of whether it's a repair or it's a replacement. So I can tell you for the last 5 years, there hasn't been a charge from the Bellick for a grinder pump that isn't on our list of known grinder pumps.
what is the oldest date on this, on this list, Don? What is the first list, first grinder pump, the date of the first grinder pump that was installed?
What did I answer?
I have no idea.
2010,
Like the oldest current one or the oldest one?
the oldest pump that's installed.
I don't know if we have those records.
Pump number 15 looks like it was in service 3/4 of 10 is the oldest.
Hmm. I think it was probably done before then.
2010 is probably the oldest. The first one that went in.
The
This
one,
is gonna come up in the
the
discussion.
one on West 220 North 7503 Town Line is the oldest one.
Okay. So we have, okay.
If you look at second page, it shows the age of the pumps.
Date placed in service.
So we had one, is that an 11 or a 17?
What's that?
Is that the oldest one we have is 11 years old? 13, there's one on
13.
13, on golf field. There's one on 14, that's on town line.
That's the one on town line is the one.
Okay, is that the one you just mentioned?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's. We'll talk about this with different ordinance, because I've got a question.
All right.
Okay.
Anything else?
No,
for-
that's it.
We'll get back to you.
Yeah,
You're not- You're not free to leave.
No. We're just beginning. of-
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Moving on to unfinished business 6A. Discussion necessary action regarding future water/sewer service to Circle Crest Park subdivision and recommendation to the village board of same. We started essentially this discussion at the last village board meeting in public. This is obviously a project that's due. And Don's been working feverishly to put together the best numerics that he can without actually putting tests in the ground. So I'll let him take it over from here.
Well, just, I guess from our last meeting, we just cleaned up the cost estimate a little bit, cleaned up the assessments, I've had a discussion with Kathy. I guess at this point, to us, the next step would be to determine what, you know, is Landstone gonna pay for all the water, that we can pull that out of the assessment. And rerun the numbers for you guys, so you can see what those are, 'cause right now it's 100% of what you see in that assessment. That's 100% of construction cost.
Land and Stone is gonna pay for the water.
We can pull that out, update them, and rerun them. But again, these numbers are all just based off of, you know, estimates, numbers we're pulling out of bid tabulations. that we do.
We do need the numbers for water, so we have an idea of what it's gonna cost,
Oh, right.
but for Land and Stone,
I'm
but
just saying to pull it out of the assessment so you can see what a property owner would be paying. But yeah, I mean, you'll still have costs for the water, but that's in the estimate that's in the package.
do you by chance have I think we spoke about you putting together what's our next step and how we go through the process.
Has there any talk been given to these, do these residents over there know what this is going on?
That's part of our discussion.
Because we're spending a lot of money and time on this. Don't you think we should talk to them and have them give us their viewpoints and if they want it or not?
Before
Yeah.
you do that, though, you really want to have firm numbers so that you're having a conversation and not blowing things out of the water too much.
Mhm.
So we need to have the information about the water system as a whole, and
The
then he
water,
needs,
yes, but I'm
then-
not sure the sewer.
well, then he needs to break it all out so that those conversations can be had with the public and have really good information in front of you.
Mhm.
I was through there yesterday and there's like 6 or 7 new wells drilled already.
I know,
That's-
and
yeah.
they're deep wells.
They're going to like 600 now.
They have to go to 600 feet. They don't wanna keep doing them. They wanna,
Right.
Land and Stone does not wanna continue doing that.
So Land and Stone is paying for all those wells right now?
Yes,
So
Did you say there 45,000 water right now?
yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I guess going back to the timeline, let's hit on that as far as, I guess, Don, you just handed out a scope of services.
Yeah, so Kathy's just kind of asked maybe layouts. Where do we go? I mean. First thing is that just to have a scope of work where we're going internally. Get that figured out. But then I agree, I mean, I think we do need to at least meet with the public, don't discuss numbers, but just to let them. know
Yes, yeah,
This.
exactly.
Before we can tell people a range of numbers for sewer and water, we have to have an assessment policy.
Right.
Because we can't have an intelligent conversation with them with this, because because they had nothing better to do the other day. I mean, if we went on front foot, it ranges from 58,000 to 118,000. If we go on a unit basis, it's about 83,000. That's too wide of a, we can't say, well, the village board has to adopt an assessment policy. before we can do anything, I don't think. I mean,
You don't have one. I did look at
Yeah.
that.
we need to come up with one.
And I think we
Because We
can,
need to decide how we're gonna pay for this. And then once we have an assessment policy, then we can go to the next step. I mean, this is all great, it's scope of services for design, but I don't think we're there to even begin that.
Well, we don't want to be doing too much work without ever talking to our residents.
Right.
It's not good for um,
I
transparency with
agree.
them, and I understand the need that we want to get some numbers. But at the same time, they know we're talking about it. They've talked to me, they've come in, they've been on the phone, they talk to Land and Stone all the time.
About
asking
water though, or
about
sewer?
water. Some are talking to me about sewer as well. Only made sense to put sewer down if we're putting water in.
I mean, $83,000 for sewer and water, including the laterals which are on here, is not a bad number.
Mhm.
That's what it is today. It used to be 15,000, but that was when Noah landed the ark. But I made some phone calls to some people that on projects, and Donna, you may know this off the top of your head, but $83,000 is not bad. But to meet with the people, I understand exactly what you're saying, Kathy, before we go too far. But I am afraid of getting numbers out there until it's been decided how we're going to
But
assess this.
can't we meet and not talk numbers?
Mhm.
Not
The
give
first
them
people
exact
Good,
numbers?
good luck.
The first question
Well,
they're
we don't
gonna
have-
ask is, how much is this gonna cost me? Not us, me. That's all they're going to do.
Right, but at this point, we need to, I mean, I think the first thing is, don't we need to geotech it first to find out? We don't even know what that's gonna cost. We don't know how deep, if we're gonna blast, if they're gonna be
Right.
all grinder pumps. I mean, all
Right.
of that has to come
I'm
into
concerned
consideration.
about the rock out there too. And the ancillary cost with that and whether we've got that in there, but that's gonna be a chunk of change. To get to a firmer number here.
Right,
Where's-
but in order to get to a firm number, we need to let the people know why we have people walking around their yards and doing testing on their roads. Well, we've gotta let them know.
That's the part I agree with, is once we're in there for a couple of days doing field work, or we get a
Yeah, our
geotech
phones are
company
gonna
and
be-
doing soil borings.
Okay, fine. I mean, if you wanna have a public informational meeting.
Yeah.
With people, give them enough notice in there and just tell them what we don't know yet.
Yeah, we just have to do the preliminary work to find numbers. We don't have those. We don't.
this
have
is
the
public
preliminary
record
work.
at this point. They already, if they were investigative enough, they can pull this up and see.
I know, but they still don't. Having dealt with a few thousand people on these things, they know enough to be dangerous. But my question is, before we go out there and spend $50,000 or $70,000 to go out there and drill that job. And everybody says, we don't want any part of this damn thing at all, where is that money going to come from? Because the village is going to have a bill that they're gonna have to pay.
Right.
Well,
If this
the-
project doesn't go through.
Well, Landstone is offering to pay for their water service. That's gotta go through no matter what. If they say, there's no saying no to that. Because Landstone is trying to cover the issues that they're bringing up in the neighborhood, and they wanna get it cleaned up so they don't have to continually redo wells.
I think part of it is if you could get Land and Stone to agree to all of the geotech and not just for the water main itself. Because
Because we're gonna be going deep.
Because, right, because water main can go in at 6 feet, they're only gonna wanna go 6 feet with their geotech. If they're willing to go deeper and do more exploration,
You
Then I think that
said
would-
down
but-
how deep the
that would
soil's
keep
gonna be?
us moving through this process.
But that
We
bill
do it
is,
right now, I mean,
Cause we have to go 5 feet.
yeah, let's go back to her issue though. The bill, Land and Stone is just putting the money into the fund. We essentially have the direction on the fund, so.
But I thought their direction was only for water.
not sewer.
Yeah, so
Just for water.
their wishes are for their funds to be used entirely to pay for the water. But we ultimately are I mean, it's our,
Okay.
it's our decision on how we're gonna use the fund at the end of the day.
Well, if we got a 20-foot deep sewer out there, we're gonna be boring to 25 feet. And we're gonna have, I mean, we're gonna have to have a sense for how deep the sewer is gonna be, and that shouldn't be that difficult to lay out preliminarily, roughly. the Sewer, so we know how we're not gonna go out there and drill it twice.
I mean,
And I'm sure my engineer that figured this out, he's got that figured out. I don't have it with me
Yeah.
tonight, but
That's all I mean, I didn't.
I know. I can tell you how deep the sewer is, but without shooting grades out there, I can't tell you what house is grinder pump and what house is gravity. I mean.
No, I didn't worry about that, but the sewer is gonna be the sewer. Are we going to,
Pump house, right?
the question to me is, can we put that subdivision in by gravity, the whole subdivision?
Right, that
We don't wanna have this half and half stuff again. This is absolutely, this isn't good for that. That's,
Well, the one thing we all agree on, and I believe the board did too, was that it's not going to be, these 3 houses are gonna get it and these 4 houses are not. And then the next road is gonna get it, but the next road. is not.
Everybody gets it.
It's everybody gets.
that, we just need, in my opinion, we need to come up with a agenda and make sure we've got all that information available the night of the public informational meeting, everything that we can think of that people are gonna ask and we have answers for it, even if it's, we don't know this yet. I think it's a good idea that we start the conversation with them, but they're gonna come out of that meeting with more questions that they're gonna have than answers, which is the normal procedure.
yeah, and I think we're there at the board had discussed last meeting that that's where we're going. So,
We need to be able to tell the people what we don't know as well as what we do know. And that we'll get back to you, and we'll have another meeting in 6 months. I mean, this is a 5-year project.
We don't
No.
want it to be a 5-year project.
it's not,
Well,
We want this in next year.
it's gonna be the end of next year before you put a hole in the ground. Well,
Yeah.
people may not like that, but by the time you get all the design work done and including the geotech, you get the design done and get the approvals and you get the bonding done, because unless Landstone's gonna front the money for all this stuff, and we have to, I mean, by the time you get all that done and you build this, it's gonna be the end of next year at the earliest.
Land and Stone is going to fund them for the one.
Yeah, but that's a cheap part of the thing. The money for the sewer is gonna be a heck of a lot more.
I think, the board couldn't make a decision until we have better numbers on.
Right.
Sewer, but. They were leaning in that direction, but they couldn't say until we actually got some real numbers.
yeah, and if you didn't watch the minutes on the board, the YouTube video on the board. We wanted to take some action, but I guess we didn't know enough to take action, so. I guess tonight, I hope we have enough direction to get moving forward and. Actually
Moving.
get to the point of getting some better numbers.
Can I just ask that?
Yeah, go ahead, Jane.
I see that you have the cost for the private side for the sanitary laterals in your sheet.
Yep.
Is that our intention to make those private side sewer connections as well?
That,
No. Private side sewer.
Waters,
we were. Well, initially we were putting these together, we were running them up to the house. The lateral.
Not sewer, just water.
just water.
Just water. Sewer is at the
Okay, so that's-
lot line.
Okay.
that can come up.
Well, that's one of the things the people have gotta be told tonight. In addition to this assessment, whatever it is, you, Mr. Property Owner and Mrs. Property Owner, are gonna have to pay for someone to install your lateral, the connections at the house, and any changes that you're gonna make plumbing wise for sewer and water in your house. So they don't come back and be all
Just-
ticked off because nobody
Just,
told.
just for sewer.
Just for sewer.
No, for water.
No,
No.
no.
No,
Just for sewer.
Land and Stone is
Paying
wishes.
everything.
If somebody wants to do alterations to their water system in their house, they're going to, we're trying to tell them that's on their nickel. If Land and Stone's paying up to the water meter, which. What,
No, they're gonna If the line in the house needs to be moved, Landstone's paying for that. They're
They
gonna
better
give
be
us-
very careful what they
They're
promise.
gonna give us, parameters like they did in Lannon.
If somebody's got old lead services
Yeah.
in their house,
Redoing
the
the
people
whole
are gonna
house.
want those replaced. Is Landstone gonna pay to replumb somebody's?
Well, like I
water?
said, we're going to have it narrow,
Yeah,
narrow, but.
Because this thing is
Get
like,
them attacked.
It'll be difficult to manage. But if they already did it in Lannon, then they have some understanding of what needs to be done.
because I'd like to hear from them what they're going to do, so we can tell the people what they're not going to get, that's gonna come out of their pocket.
And that might be helpful to have those guidelines before that public information meeting.
And they're willing to be there also.
Yeah, but understand too, we are gonna be the ones setting the scope.
Mhm.
That is on us.
Okay, but all I'm saying is if you have 30 houses, you have 30 different situations. No two of them are alike. And if she gets something, I want the same darn thing. And if I've got lead water services or I've got galvanized pipe that's only got a little dinky hole left in it anymore, I want a whole new water system in my house. I
That's not-
understand, yeah, we need
Just
to
make the
understand what this is, because that'd
Work
be,
to make the connection.
yeah. This is more than just installing a yoke and a water meter. This could be tens of thousands of dollars for a house.
But-
There'd be parameters.
Yes.
So
We'll have a furthest termination point of service. That's gonna be included in this. That's their wishes, not.
as long as we're clear.
Okay. Did you have something?
Dan looks like he wants to say something.
But I do agree with Joel that I think the assessment policy's gotta get put in place, just so you have that, that you're able to show people that you have it, and you're not making it up as you go. The other thing is, it comes down to it, have an ordinance where you don't provide water without sewer and the other without it, I mean. I don't think it's there, I don't know if it's in your ordinance today, but that's one thing you're gonna want too, that
We got sewer, no water. A lot of us laid our water private laterals at the same time. Wasn't mandatory at all.
So, I mean, that stuff before you even, we start down the road, I think you wanna make sure we have that stuff.
Mhm.
What was it?
What did you say, Lynn?
I said, when they installed our sewer in our area,
Yeah.
there was no water mentioned at all. And it was, if you wanted to, you could lay on your private ladder, which we all paid for from the lot line to the house. Some of us paid for a water line to go to the house right away. So when I hope,
They're no good anymore. I think they're probably no good anymore.
really, how
Yeah,
come?
because they rot.
Oh,
Copper.
Yep.
Copper rods.
You're not the first one who ever did this because the plumber talked them into it. But Jane can tell you better than I can.
could it be PCV, pipes?
Not likely in, not done.
Well,
Ours was copper, that we put in, just in case.
Polly's become pretty popular here recently, but
yeah,
back when you were putting it in, I'm almost certain it would have been copper.
no, we don't even have copper in our house.
Doesn't make any difference.
No.
It comes through the wall in your basement.
Okay,
All I'm saying is,
okay.
these are the types of things we gotta be careful speaking to people
Sure.
because they're gonna dig that water line up and 5 will get you 10 that line is no good.
Okay. We would have preferred water at the same time.
So. Moving along, do we have any recommended action to the board? Staff or? I guess, Don, do you have any recommendation that we need to move forward with?
Just with what I passed out, yes, I mean. The only thing we're really focused on is item A with what I handed out, and that's just. Getting that scope nailed down and. I do think some sort of a public informational meeting warranted if we're gonna go out and do field work.
I agree.
Do you want that before the ordinance is written or the assessment policy or after?
think it'd be good to have them, the ordinances in place. before
Right.
they Actually meet with people, not that they can go home and look it up and find out. The village doesn't have a leg to stand on to push us
Yeah.
to do this right now.
Right.
I think we should request the board create an assessment policy, and I don't know who's gonna do that. Is that gonna come back to us?
The attorney looks at it.
Yeah, I didn't look at it, but
Yeah.
then I
It would have to be written, so. It'll be. It'll come, start in my office.
Okay, I would say the recommendation of the village board is to create an assessment policy. That's the next step,
Mhm.
and then I would also ask for Don for his firm to do a preliminary sewer layout so that we can then get a proposal for do the geotechnical investigation. That's the next big ticket item. Those two things can occur concurrently. But we can't do the geotech, which is the whole thing before we can start the design, is to get that somebody on board to do that. And that's a couple month process.
So what is the board's vision for having this public information? Did you have a time frame? Are you looking to do it before the end of the year? In next month, in November?
We didn't come up with a date, because I wasn't sure what was gonna shake out of this region. Move forward, and now we know we have to get the assessment policy in place.
So I guess Kathy, what's timeline for an assessment policy to come back to committee then to board?
Back to committee first. then board.
Yeah.
So next meeting we'll have an assessment policy.
I mean, there's enough of them out that we just need to,
Yeah, we'll just set the time.
So,
no good public meetings occur between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
well, I guess I'm just thinking that
Good idea.
the public works is after the next board. The October board is gonna occur before the October public works.
I think the.
So you're talking-
assessment Policy. We're gonna be hard pressed to get an assessment policy in place by Thanksgiving. Because it's gotta be, staff's gonna create it, it's gonna come back to here, it then has to go to the board, it's gonna be published by the time you get the thing done. We're past November.
Do we need
Right.
to bring it back if you want it to come back to committee, or just go?
I don't think it has to.
Yeah, I mean, it,
go for it?
Like to see what it is,
Yes.
but I don't think.
Well, you would see it anyway.
so we're
Yeah, I know.
essentially talking about. What Kathy's driving is because of the fact that the board meets after, or sorry, the public work meets after the board. We're looking at October, it comes
November.
back to committee, and then November, the board looks at it. And either adopts it or sends it back. So, I mean, we could be talking the December meeting before the board even sees it back.
I don't personally think that it's gonna be blessed by us, but since the village has never had an assessment policy, I don't know what the procedure is. To me, at the end of the day, it ends up on the village board's lap. So if we could make it to the when is the November village board meeting?
Or could we just do it that it goes to the board, and then if the board can't come to a conclusion, we could bring it back for discussion here? If they don't
Could.
agree?
Could.
Because then it'll keep things rolling, and if there was some question and,
If we can make it to the village,
I could put it together. Send it to the committee and get your feedback. From committee members before I bring. it.
I mean, if we could get to the village board meeting in November, then it could be acted on. And it could be effective in December, in which case that we wouldn't have the public informational meeting till
January.
January.
Mhm.
You don't wanna ever have them between Thanksgiving and Christmas,
Ruins the holidays.
just warn me.
Yeah.
People are so ornery at time of year, more than normal. But if that to me is the best way, if we could get it. And the village board act on it in November. And then it would be effective December, and then we could.
That would be our
schedule-
budget meeting at the same time.
Would be active on the assessment policy the same day.
You don't have.
It's not a town, it's just.
It's a lot shorter. meeting.
Well, depends on what we get involved in.
So we could. We could, I guess, review the crafting of it October 18th at the Public Works. And then November 8th. Would be the first board meeting,
I mean, they're pretty cut and dry. We're not gonna make any drastic changes
right?
at this committee level.
And then if the board has any,
So we just move the truck.
if the board has any, changes on it, it would come back November 15th to Public Works. And then adoption December 13th.
And then we wanna give people enough advance notice for the January meeting. We're gonna obviously have to have it in firehouse.
Can they do the geotechnical work during
The winter,
the
Well, they
winter?
could drill 365.
Oh, okay.
it's just,
The drilling through rock is the same as frozen ground.
but I wonder. But I don't know if you have any frost, do you have any extra costs for doing it in the winter? You know, like if you do the electric company.
What I wrote down is, what I wrote down for the October meeting, I'll have the sewer grade that Joe's looking for, and I'll get a quote from a geotech firm. That we just used on Silver Spring,
Who'd you use?
PSI,
Okay.
so I can at least get one quote by then.
For October 18th?
And the village board is gonna have to act on that in probably the December meeting. I don't think they're gonna be ready to spend that kind of money in November. I'm just looking at the time frame. If they award that geotech in December, that means they'll be drilling in January. We'll have the
Well, you're
report.
just- But he's just getting
I'm
a
just
number.
getting
We
this,
have
you
to
guys
do,
have an idea, I mean,
because we
ultimately.
still have to do an RFP,
Ultimately,
that
probably want
takes
to hold.
2 months, 3 months as it is.
Yeah, we're not drilling in
I'm
January.
just getting you a budget.
Yeah, I mean, that would be prudent to have that by the 18th, just so
So you have an idea.
finalization is what, November 8th?
Yeah.
So that'd be helpful just to have an idea.
I think that'll get us.
You get it earlier,
It'll Get us a ways down the road.
I can drop it in.
All right,
How old's that pavement, Joe, in that subdivision?
What we were talking about before, it was in that $8 million project, so it's 16, 17, 18. So it's not-
Mhm.
that have to look.
I mean, it's gonna be gone anyway, but I just wondered, there's not gonna be much to patch the holes.
I think it-
Good shape.
we
Pull it
just
up.
transplant it to an area that isn't bad.
Mhm.
You're fine.
all right, so I guess. Do we need to take a motion on that, or? It's essentially,
Recommend to the village board, create an assessment policy.
and then,
Wait, we're bringing it back to you guys, so I guess, we'll wait, no action, because I'll get it prepped for the next meeting. And then the action would come out of that.
right,
Except,
yeah, so just to be clear, we're gonna request staff to create an assessment policy for the Public Works review on October 18th. And then Don, you're gonna do a preliminary geotech quote.
Yep.
And bring that back for October 18th.
And you're gonna redo these figures and get the water out of there?
I'll take the private side laterals off of there and I'll pull the water out so you can see.
And
Yeah.
not that it matters at all, but I almost forgot, I'm not gonna be here at the October meeting. I could, life will go on, and that's no big deal, but I just, I'm gonna be on like once every 5-year vacation.
so if you wanna put the sewer on one. In one spreadsheet and the water on another, that way we still have the costs of the estimated.
Yes, we thought.
Mhm.
Yes, they thought that.
cost estimate.
Yeah, I can do that. Do we wanna bust the paving up, half between sewer and water, or do we want a paving all on water?
Sounds like water.
Me too.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's
The
coming.
people are gonna end up paying the same, it's the project cost is gonna be the same, it depends upon how much. If I was landed, I would argue against dumping it all in the water, but whatever.
It's just like this and this.
Again, but it's our fund. We're the custodians of it and
It's all gonna be gone.
That would be a decision.
It's gonna be new ditches, new pavement, new everything, it'll be the best road in the village, when we're done.
all right, anything else on 6A?
Thank you.
Keep this moving along.
Mike, and then we go.
Here, nothing, I'll move
Okay.
move on to 6B, discussion
thank
necessary action regarding creation of sewer permit and related connection process. And
So-
recommendation of village board same.
All right, so we had the first, property that needed a sewer connection. And so I put together an application with all the information we found, working with, getting numbers from Mike, working with the building inspector. And trying to get, something out so then we could get this family into get a sewer, which we did. But so this is what I put together. I was just wanting to bring it forward to see if there's something else I need to add or.
I think the beginning of every year, you have to redo the cost because we always increase it. So be careful that you don't use an old sheet for someone.
Well, I was suggesting that we
Leave 'em
put
off.
a line right there, just say current as.
Yep.
of, and put
Right.
date on there, Cause.
Right.
Well, why don't we just take the fees off of there and just say see schedule?
Yeah.
It's nice to have the fees there,
Yeah,
so
you
then
wanna
the
have the fees.
building inspector knows which. Which parts are their fees, because not all of them are for each hookup.
You could put current as of the
So
year.
what are we gonna do when it changes?
We'll
Every year you
change-
just do a
change
new
the
draft.
form. Just change the form.
We're
So
not
we
gonna-
could name this form the 2023 sewer connection application, and then next year we'll make it the 2024.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you anticipating using this for commercial and industrial where they would have different rates that they would pay? Or a different form for commercial and industrial?
Different, yeah, it's a different process completely for commercial, because if you go through Sussex, they make the determinations on water, on meters and such, and then they send us what the full cost is.
Okay, you may want to have something similar to then pass along to the building inspector.
Okay.
Just, I think that you have to be consistent with that communication,
Okay,
I think.
right,
So
yes,
For the fund budgeting. The one that took place, they wrote the check for the thing for this, for the utility. But some of it belongs to the other funds of the village. For the permit.
Okay.
Yeah, my plan was to write a check back to the village for the amount. It should go to you, but maybe I'm here, you want to have it as a provision to check. This whether you have your paragraph to fund the account.
So then you get these fees? They don't get paid to the
person that
or village?
made a check for the whole thing and sent it.
for the road fee, well, we did get the road fee,
Yeah.
that was separate.
should we send that back to them, have them just pay the village?
We already deposited the check, so, but then I'm gonna write a check back to the village, so they don't go
you know,
village.
yeah,
But,
that's fine, I mean, because
but
we're
in
like,
the future, you might want to just split it out in form, so that. But you're gonna have one person. And they're both fine.
What
Yeah.
property was that for?
Should we retitle the form to say something like sewer service connection for residential applications in 2023?
Or just add residential in the front of the title.
Yes, that was just an example.
okay. I just did 2023 sewer service connection, residential service connection.
There you go.
Mhm.
from me.
Okay.
So just for my edification, unless I missed something, not all of these fees are applicable to any one connection.
Correct. Depends on where they are.
So
So they fill out the top half, they give it back to the building inspector sends it over to Mike, making sure we've got the right
interceptor charge is in the right place, then, Mike gives him, the okay on what the charges should be, and then the building inspector then gets the check from, um, from our resident, or from the resident.
So to his point, who's saying what fee applies and what doesn't?
Mike,
Okay.
How much is given back to the town for the village now? How much is given to the sewer area?
Everything but the last two items. Utility, but the last two items.
Right, because it says Lisbon Sussex Interceptor. You know, because there was split before, Sussex gets some and then we get some. Yeah. Okay.
But there isn't much that we get for the Sussex thing.
Oh. Okay,
The village bought all of the capacity and the land interceptors, but it all belongs to the village.
mhm,
The village has gets the big of the part of the land or the Lisbon Sussex interceptor, that's belongs to the village.
mhm,
The only thing is for the Sussex interceptor.
mhm.
There aren't many properties that are gonna be added.
Okay,
But like, he's talking about that new subdivision or where you're talking about doing the water and sewer, that would go directly to the Sussex
mhm,
interceptor, so when you can hook up people both, so.
okay.
Um. So this would be the sewer permit. And then connection process.
actually, I think Don did that last month.
The building inspector notified me that they inspected the installation, and so they're now on the regular bill.
So we followed up.
All right, so. We have anything left on that one?
That's all I've got for now. I made some notes and I'll figure out how to make it so that.
I mean, since this is a form, do we actually need to motion to adopt?
No, I just wanted to bring it in to see if the people that have been in this business longer than I have may know what I'm missing. That's all.
All right, anybody have any more on the application?
Mm-mm.
Anybody have anything on the connection process that needs to be re-brought up?
Take a lot of work for the interim until we get things squared away with ordinance.
Jane, do you have something?
Just is, there's a way at the end of the year that you kind of audit whether between you and the, building inspector to make sure that there isn't anything missing.
Part of the audit is going to.
But no, I think we're talking about making sure that he communicated with you and that you got the message, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you started this
New-
mid-year, is there a way, is he gonna go back through his permits to make sure that everything was covered for this year?
He didn't have it. This was the only one.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Gotcha.
It's different when it's only one here and one there compared to the whole thing. we do it after.
Thank God we don't have 20 people lined out at the front door.
Mm.
And get our act together.
Okay. 7A, discussion necessary action regarding a request by April Gardner for special needs road sign and village policy related to same.
And this was just to start the discussion. We got an email, Joe received an email from April, and as I did some research, I found some other sign policies, and I thought, is this something that we should be looking at? Getting a sign policy for something that deals with disabled citizens,
Residents, yeah.
residents.
Mhm.
I was gonna say children at first and then.
Yeah.
Say adults. Or do we not? I mean, we can not make any attempts to help out this one, but because
as I got the call from one of our residents a few, probably 6, 8 months ago, asking for a cow crossing sign on, Hillside, and I asked them, is there a farm on Hillside with cows?
Mhm.
And she said, well, they're gonna slow down if they know that there's gonna be crop. Oh, I was crossing, I said, does your farm cross the road, ma'am? No, don't you know who we are? So we kind of went through that process.
Right us.
And she thought, all my questions were kind of annoying to her, and I said, well, we just lowered the speed limit, and she said, people aren't gonna pay attention to the speed limit, it's still gonna speed. And so I did not take it any farther, I said, if you wanted to, you can go to Joe, but some of these signs that specifically have to do with, our citizens that actually need people to know we have maybe a deaf child, in this case, autistic child, so on the road. Is that something that, a policy that we'd like to put together, or is that something that you say?
Where did these first 2 pages come from? That from DOT, Wisconsin. All this back stuff is from Anchorage, but where's the first 2 pages from?
I don't remember. Kenosha County.
I think both of these documents point out very good points. I mean, I feel sorry for these people if they have a child with a disability. But I question whether or not this will do them any good. I hate to give people false hope that putting up a sign for
Oh,
any
Just mine?
disability
Oh,
is going
thank
to
you.
cause people to slow
didn't
down.
get
I
this.
don't think anything will cause people to slow down. They ignore stop signs and speed limit signs, what, in my opinion, is a deaf child, blind child, autistic child sign coming to. They'll notice a new sign in somebody's front yard right by.
So I'm going to say that there is one on, Highway 59 on Greenfield. A deaf child sign, and every time I see that sign, I make myself very aware of my surroundings.
Yeah, but you're a responsible person. Who also probably stops at stop signs and obeys the speed limit within reason and a bunch of other things. I don't have, I mean, if I had a disabled person, an adult or a child that I was responsible for, I'd want to do 120% of whatever I could to protect that individual, but I'm just being realistic. I just don't see it doing a darn bit of good. I don't know what other people's opinions are, and somebody could make the case for it, I'll certainly support it, but I just don't think it's gonna do any good. We heard all those people from Partridge Hills last couple of months about a new subdivision and all the world's gonna come to an end and everything else. And they're complaining about the speed limits on Murray Hill and everything else. Signs ain't gonna make it.
What?
No,
I do think it's worth looking at it as we prepare a sign policy. And then, moving forward from there. My personal opinion, I don't think it's gonna do much either. In her email, she talked to the person who was the offender, and it did nothing for that person to slow down.
These trucks do go pretty fast, though, I have to say.
You can put 10 signs out, and
Oh, I
if
know.
somebody
I
isn't gonna
agree.
pay attention to the first one, they're not gonna pay
I
attention to
agree.
the 10th
I
one.
agree. I'm just saying a lot of these truck drivers are younger and they're just going like fast. They don't care.
Well, they get paid by the number of
Right.
things they dump. They're incentivized to go as fast as humanly possible.
Maybe a letter should be sent to them.
Well,
Saying,
you understand that those people aren't
Care.
employees of Amazon.
yeah,
They're not. So
I know.
what does this sentence at the end of the third paragraph mean?
What page?
Who's,
On her email, it says we do also have a fence request in with the state. Because he elopes, so we are doing what we can to help the situation.
I think they can get public funding for their offense around their home from the
Really?
state.
Right,
Oh, okay, I was just
Keep the
curious,
help.
I didn't know what she's.
make a barrier.
So
Elopes.
they are trying, is what she wanted us to know, is they are trying, fine.
Oh, okay, now I understand what, I didn't know what that meant, I'm sorry.
anyone else have? Linda, you got any-
Is she looking for a response from? The village in any way, shape or form?
This is a request, so I brought it forward, and with that request, I didn't have a sign policy on these requests. So I wanted to know if the committee thought it was a good idea to do a sign policy, or to just say we don't have a policy.
Joe, do we have any of these currently erected?
No.
Do we have children at play anywhere?
Yeah, there's slow, the slow children with the little kids. And we have those randomly throughout the entrances of subdivisions off of, let's say, Pioneer Road and whatnot, but just it's a small. placard,
There's some
something
playgrounds.
specific to a certain area, I do believe, and it may have been removed if I recall, but I know when I first started here, we did have a deaf child in, I want to say, Rolling Hills area. Coming to mind, but I believe we were made aware that they did not live there anymore, and that sign has since been removed. So I'd say currently there are 0 signs in the village that would be correct.
You asked me what I thought, Mark. I think it's a nice thing to do. I wouldn't want to not do it, and then there was an accident, and all of a sudden, we're in a lawsuit because we wouldn't put up a sign. But I just think overall, they pay their taxes, and I think they should be entitled to a simple sign. I don't know if it's maybe not gonna do anything, but just as a nice thing to do and beside for Lisbon to do.
I'm trying to think of what we did in Waukesha, but we did have a family that wanted signs in Waukesha. I can't remember what it was for, but we said, the board said that we could put the signs up, but that would be the responsibility of the requester to pay for the signs. So we ordered the signs and we put the signs up, but they had to pay for that. So it wasn't a taxpayer thing.
Is that enforceable for any kind of citation?
I'm concerned that somebody's gonna believe that that sign is going to protect. The individual they're talking about, that's what I'm concerned. I'm not worried about $100 for the written sign, I'll pay for the damn sign out of my pocket, I don't care. It's not that, I'm concerned that someone's going to believe. That sign's going to protect. This individual, whether it's an adult or a child or whatever, and it's not.
I think your question to Mark was.
Yeah.
Provoking, if you can't charge for it, our sheriff can't do anything about it.
Yeah, it's not a. What does slow down mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if they're going 60 and they slow down to 45 and it's a 25 mile per hour zone, it's still a ticket. I mean, it's still in violation of the speed statute and ordinance. So, I mean, just understanding the purpose of these, they're more just awareness that. I mean, I guess living in the country and seeing somebody walking down the side of the road. You probably pay a little more attention to that than if you are driving in the city and somebody's walking on the sidewalk. It's almost like deer crossing.
Yeah.
The deer don't cross at those signs.
They can't read.
They're not, they're not waiting.
Otherwise, I put one outside my deer stand, eat here.
So, I mean, the purpose is raising awareness and I mean, to Joe's point, if you have the consciousness to read the sign and actually follow it, you're probably not the problem to begin with. Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with the board formally adopting a sign policy, but I think we could be safe to say, let's wait on this request until we actually have a policy in place. Because, I mean, just thinking of the ones you can get, blind, deaf, autistic,
Alzheimer's, I mean, there's, I'm sorry, but on my age, the list is about this long, you know, and it's getting longer because my short arms are. But it's like, where do you stop?
sure. So
We'll just hold it.
I would just tell her that the committee has heard the request and discussed it to a point in public, and we're gonna wait to have a formal policy in place.
Answer that, or would you like me to-
Yeah, because I don't wanna leave.
It was
Joe
directed
out on the
to you.
worst end, but Answer this.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, they've,
You start setting a precedent, you do this one, you do that one, now you don't have a rhyme or
Right.
reason why.
and I think we're just reading their letter that they've been a resident here for 11 years. They haven't had one for 11 years. I don't think maybe 6 months is unreasonable to wait longer. All right, anything else on the special needs road sign request? 7B, discussion only regarding preliminary draft updates to sewer code chapter 18.01 or 18.05.3.
Right, so I sat down with committee member everything. And we kind of went through, I combined, one of the things that I was asked to do was combine all of the definitions and terms. Did that, and then, but I wanted to get your feedback so I can make any corrections that you found. And then, if we were off base on anything that we could start correcting. I think our major thing is gonna be talking about grinder pumps. But if I'm missing any terms, or if we think the introduction is not what we were looking for.
I did see a reference to COM 83. That's not COM 83 anymore. It's on the last page. It's SPS 383.
Where are you, Jane?
The last page, it
Oh.
references COM 83, which is the plumbing code. It's,
I was gonna say too, because here's a plumbing inspector. We don't have a plumbing
Yes, we
inspector.
do.
Yeah, we do.
Who?
Brian,
Oh, Brian, he's the building inspector.
And he also does.
he has a
Oh.
certification,
Okay.
Yes.
383.
Anything on page 1? On the introduction, general revision, section 1801. Anybody have any corrections? You went through this? Right, 1802. Eighteen oh three. Right, 1804, the 1 through 10.
I think that number 1 might be updated since 1972.
So we did change, this, that was part of Sussex, and then I got one from another chapter, from another municipality. They said a different chapter, so I updated Julian, so then she did. Because the current one, the chapter that they had in theirs no longer exists.
Okay.
So, you think, the Control Act 33?
Public law,
I'm saying the Federal Water Pollution Control Act of 72. I thought that was updated. No,
we're still in there, not that I am aware of, Gene, I think it's 92,500 is the one that's, and it's all references back to 72, but I think there's like 3 or 4 places in here where we have either state or federal sites, we were gonna check all.
Gotcha, okay.
We're working
This
with,
is an area that we want me to check. I just want to make sure I've got it.
Yeah, I would check if you have time just to check those references, because they change periodically.
we were going to work concurrently with Sussex because this is their impetus to update theirs. So we were going to, I was thinking about once we got through the rough draft of this whole thing, we would sit down with her and see, because we worked with Sussex's and Summit's ordinance.
Okay.
To create this.
So so I did reach out already to Judy on some, specific questions we had. And she made some suggestions, right, that we put in here. She did make, a couple others that happened while this was already out, so.
Okay.
I'll make those changes.
One other term that I know of that's not in here would be FOG, FOG, which is the fats, oils, and grease.
What was it, Gene?
FOG, fats, oils, and grease.
What does that stand for? I didn't hear.
The acronym is FOG, so it should be in your definitions. It's fats, oils, and grease.
It's under 20, under floatable.
I
say just-
It should be.
Maybe
Okay.
put fog in there, yeah.
So should I add that in here? So it makes sense.
I would just put a parenthetical in there after floatable oil and put FOG. On definition 20.
So I have a question to ask quick too, as long as we're kind of looking, I'm looking at industrial users. So is the new business park the first real commercial application for the sanitary or this
Yeah.
sewer utility? Do we have the inspection manholes as part of the specification for any of the commercial or industrial sewer connections?
But that one, we had this discussion, the plan commission on proposed truck wash over our quarry corners. And one of the things that was on the list was to make sure that they put in the inspection manhole. But I believe Sussex's ordinance has it in theirs. I'm
Okay.
sure they do. So therefore, we should make it a design requirement for Lisbon to also require those.
Yeah.
We need them for restaurants, like for was it Pizza Ranch or whatever it is, there, we need one there.
So what we found, my experience is that we just do anything non-residential.
Right.
Just puts them in as
Right.
a standard,
Yes.
because those businesses
No.
change. And it's impossible to get them to install one after the fact.
Yes.
So we just do it as a standard.
It should be,
Well, it's a sampling manhole or an inspection manhole.
it should be part of the plumbing code for the village of Lisbon. You're absolutely right.
I don't know if that's a
Restaurants.
standard for Sussex
Yeah,
or not.
I think they
Okay.
have done.
The worst ones are the restaurants, because they'll dump
Each
their
place has
fryers.
that for sure.
Yeah, I wound up getting stuck in a few situations where businesses change, and then to try and get them to go back and install one's been extremely difficult, so. As long as this is a new part of the utility.
We're definitely gonna want one on, I think that just requiring anything non-residential to have this greatest thing in the world. Restaurants are the worst.
So do any of them in Business Park East have it?
Right now, no.
What about, Quick Trip?
I'd have to look at quick trip site plan, I don't have that. I don't know.
Yeah,
if
they
it's
have
part of
food.
site
Trying to
plan
do it
approval,
for
they had it in here or not.
They have a lot of food.
I mean, all those over there,
Pizza or
even
anything.
existing, including, the trucking company should have them. Somebody dumps a crankcase of oil down the sewer, we wanna know about it.
They're usually
The ink
private
place.
property
Yeah.
or-
At the property line, so where the right of way ends, you install them, yep, just so that
We
you
need
don't go
one at
onto
the
private
ink-
property.
That ink place,
What?
where the ink is, what's it called?
Purple?
No. We
Wake
need,
up.
we need, anything done in residential, we need them in there. It's the only way we can,
At this point, I mean, yeah. They're all approved without them at this point, so. It
Grandfather.
We can
wasn't
talk
a
nice.
requirement of Sussex, so.
I would think that Sussex is, I've never read it, but I would believe Sussex's agreement with Lisbon would require them. If they didn't, somebody screwed up on Sussex.
Yeah, I know all of our references reference the regional treatment plant
Right.
ordinance.
Yeah, you got
So,
it, and I'm sure Brookfield's got it, so that requires that you've got it.
Okay, I got it written down.
Yep, alright.
Okay, so 11 through 19, any questions there? Okay, so 20, I'm gonna put in the FOG. Anything 21 to 28? Twenty-nine through 38.
Can we go back to 24?
24. Okay.
I guess sentence 3, starting with grinder pump shall include the pump, and then. Do we need to be more specific to that? I mean, what would all other be?
Control panels, floats. Control cabinets,
Hey. I think that's why they put that term in there,
all the purposes, it's everything that comes with
that,
it.
that
Check
way I think they're
valves.
just covering everything.
There should be double check.
the wet well vault.
Right.
So,
Electrical service.
Kind of a one term covers everything.
so just keep that in mind when we start talking about grinder pump, because I remember when we had the switch. Mike thought the switch should be the should be the responsibility of the property owner. And not the considered part of the pump. If we put in that all other. Is part of the pump, then we can't say that, then anything that goes wrong with making that pump work is gonna be our.
I think once you define what that is, then you put that, you know what I mean, and refer to in section whatever. In the definition of grinder.
I'm just gonna kind of highlight that area,
Pardon me?
I think it should be all encompassing because it comes from the same supplier. It comes in one package and one goes out the other. So I don't know how you get separated.
so if a switch goes out, we pay for a switch.
Well, I think that discussion is gonna come later this evening. Because
Right, well, that's why I did make marks there, just to come back to that. Because whatever we do in the grinder pump area, we wanna be very understanding that in our definition, everything included to make that grinder pump work
yes,
is now considered a grinder pump,
yes.
so, okay, thanks, Mark. Anything from 29 to 38? Thirty-nine to 47. I'm going pretty fast because I'm making the assumption you read all this before.
My question was on 37.
Okay,
Normal sewage, is this just on residential application, or is this?
Anything. Anything above this, whether it comes out of a house or it comes out of an industrial building or restaurant, if it doesn't qualify under these four criteria, it's not normal sewage. And if somebody dumps a can of methyl ethyl bad stuff down their toilet in their house, it's not normal sewage.
What? You can't do that.
Huh?
Had that in my face.
Yeah, okay.
Did you have any other questions on the normal sewage? Because I don't think I have an active sewage.
That's when you get into your commercial and industrial strength sewage.
All right, back to 39 to 47.
You do, so your operations and maintenance on 38,
Okay. 38.
I guess I don't know if it needs to be spelled out, but it does not include like weight, forget it, get it. But I do have for 46.
Okay.
So, we may want to figure out how to change the two sewer or two buildings on one sewer line. Somehow make that they're separated. Because there too, you can have a lot split and then you have two buildings on one sewer lateral. I would have, if it's any, something to the effect that if it's two buildings that can be occupied, should have separate sewer laterals. I would suggest that.
No, I think that's a great idea. But, you know, that issue before.
So if you're talking like a strip building with 7 units in it,
No,
each one,
if you had a strip building with 7 buildings on. it,
Yeah,
And
if you
they're all tied into one lateral, then you can never figure out. What's this?
oh,
Or even if you had two residences on one lot.
Yeah.
And you decide to split the lot and you're sharing one sewer lateral, that causes problems in the future. So each building should have its separate sewer service.
So do you want me to just make that as a second line in there that just says, each
I think we
building
could find
that
wording
will be
to
occupied, what
represent what Jade is.
was that?
We could find wording. I think we need to add that issue into the definitions. But it's not in the definition, it has to be in the policy. It's not a definition. It's something that needs to go in the ordinance.
Shared lateral.
Yeah.
Well, you can't have shared lateral. It's-
Like having a shared well when they stack them. God help. We need to have something in the ordinance itself, not in the definitions that deals with shared lands.
Do you agree with that? Jane? That just goes into policy and not in definition?
True, but then I don't know if I would put that as, I would change the private sewer description.
So being privately owned sewer.
That definition, the creation of that was the Bill Muth clause when he argued in the Corey McCutcheon for 10 years about getting sewer extensions for young years. That's where that came from. It's a law, you don't want to worry about it, but that's why that was in there.
what concern do you have over the current wording?
I guess I don't know why it,
Why we have it at all?
yeah. Or why the two buildings or more description is in it, period. Shall be the privately owned sewer. Not directly controlled by the public authority.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta have a trailer park, every one of those units out there should have their own lateral.
Maybe then we should just clarify it as private sewer system and not a private sewer.
Right, because there's only one pipe running out to the road, we think.
There's one pipe tonight.
They have connection.
And it's not directly.
Can't wait to
controlled
get
by the
into
public.
that.
Okay. I put in system, put back the serving two or more buildings.
Yeah,
That was-
then-
and
then
I
that
made a
covers-
note that we need to make sure our policy adds that, no shared laterals. So,
I'm sure about it. One customer who filled the two services. That they don't have. We talked about that. That is a grinder pump, and the grinder pump fails a lot faster than any other because it is two buildings moving into it.
That's a side by side.
and
Where's
they
that?
have one
On
lateral.
Cherry Hill, I want to say. Yeah, they have one lateral.
Yeah, we shouldn't have had that. But that's the way they put it in.
Mhm.
You may want to put an asterisk next to that address if you figure out where it is.
Yes,
It's a rental.
it's a rental.
It's a side by side. And they're sharing a grinder pump.
They also own the
And so
single family
are
home
we
next to it.
responsible for that grinder pump?
Yes.
There's an asterisk.
Yeah, let's find that address and put it on here as a big red flag.
I'll be back.
Can you send that address to,
I'll find it, I'll find it.
okay, thank you.
I think it's Cherry Hill.
I can find it.
Yeah.
It's gonna get one bill. Charge about it.
Yeah. And check the history of it. Has, has
Like,
anything been going on
You want
lately?
him to do history on it? You know that costs every time you have him. do
Oh.
more history work.
Yeah,
I just don't know if it's necessary. If it's
well, he's
necessary,
got,
I'm all about
he
it.
always
If you
keeps a
don't think-
list of things that when we have repairs on a grinder pump, correct, Mike?
And
Oh,
this is one that we talked about.
Yeah.
History of the grinder pump. Okay,
Go to the cost of putting a more robust system in there. Because
Yeah,
they don't last anywhere near the 10, they haven't been here.
that's one that they should be paying themselves. It's cost us a lot of money.
all right. We're at 48 to 57. Anything?
Mm-mm.
Between 56 and 57, do you want to add a definition for sampling manual?
Yep, up at the sampling.
It's included in 56? Or it's gonna be a new 57?
I think it'd be-
Yeah. So,
So
Okay,
number 54,
yes,
Don, what do you typically use for your domestic, your residential
That
equivalent?
looks like it's at 140 gallons per person per day.
I think this is what actually came out of Sussex.
Yeah, so it's got a match. We took this out of Sussex.
It's interesting. We use
What do you use?
That puts in the-
200 gallons per household.
200 per house.
That 140 is what's in the agreement with
Okay.
Sussex.
So then essentially you're doing 3 times 140 for a household equivalent, correct? Is that what that means? Okay.
Doing 140 gallons
Person per day.
per person per day. average. Yeah, 3 people living in the house.
Sussex says in REC, residential equivalent connection. And I can't believe that she's not going to change this. It says an average residential family equivalent shall be calculated yearly by the village.
Oh, yeah.
How do you do rates that way? But based upon the residential water use divided by the total number of residential customers.
And that's what they do. Because I asked her, that was one of the questions.
Well,
We
I
asked her, she said that's what they do.
can't believe they do that. Doesn't make sense. Maybe change it.
58 to 70. obviously don't have a good day with that. The flight silence.
Kathy, I just saw something that we need to add an additional definition between 32 and 33, defining land. As it goes to land.
What was it?
Well, we're going in because it's an L, we're going in between 32 and 33, and would say Lannon shall mean the village of Lannon.
Lannon, show me the village of Lannon.
Yeah. Just like we have in 74, Sussex shall mean the village of Sussex.
Can I go back? I don't know, when we've been discussing, is any word, should be a definition of foreign object? Because later on, we're gonna run into a situation like we have where the kids push all the foreign objects. out of the toilet and mess up the whole system. Somewhere along the line, you know, who's responsible for the foreign object. We did define what a foreign object is.
Good idea.
Well, that would be in the policy, not in the definition.
So there should be a definition.
Yes,
What it means.
I agree.
So do we know what that's gonna look like? What a foreign object gonna look like?
Anything that's not supposed to go down.
Foreign object is the opposite of what you have in the other definitions here. So what is you?
It's covered under something already.
All right, I wrote it down for me to look at doing.
If you look at 84, it's covered partially there. Also 65, a little bit.
Sludge roads. I
Sludge
think
is
he's
usually
talking about
meant to
somebody
be
shoving
something like,
a rag down,
10,000 gallons of
that type of thing.
superheated water.
Somebody actually flushed down toys.
Yeah, they did.
And it cost literally thousands of dollars a gallon.
And the residents paid for it, but they had insurance, thank goodness for that. But it was an autistic child.
I think we'll be able to figure out a definition for them.
What?
We'll find a definition.
Would be a definition of deleterious material.
71 to 82.
Do you actually want to put Lisbon in there instead of Sussex? Or the village?
Superintendent is the person that does the operations of the water treatment. facility. We don't do that.
Oh, but I would somehow, well, okay.
You think? I mean, I'm happy to change it, but that was my thought.
71.
Do you
I
have
got
to
rid of the
refer,
thought, but
do you have to refer to Lisbon too then? When you say Lisbon?
just he was trying to figure out how to work it.
Oh, right under Lannon, be 33, 34.
No, okay, we already have,
No,
because this is Lisbon's ordinance. we
Right.
already Have that. before we had to create these
oh,
little
here, I got you.
sub-
I'm sorry. It's right in the first paragraph. Never mind.
What do you want it to say?
I wonder if you just do something about wastewater superintendent instead of just to me, superintendent can even mean staff
Right.
for Lisbon.
I do that.
Under user charge. We also have a user charge for interceptor. It's based on flow, and we have a charge for administration based on flow for commercial customers. Commercial customers are just passed through the sewage bill or Sussex. So to pay for the administration of the county, or that an administrative charge. And then it goes to the line on interceptor, we'll pay line interceptor
write something up on that for me? And just email it?
Kathy, I apologize, but going back to 62, it just popped into my head that when we attach an exhibit to this for the sewer service area,
Yes.
should that sewer service area change, we then have to readopt our ordinance?
Why have you just changed your exhibit? Because the exhibit will have a date on it,
It'll still be exhibit A.
Right,
but it
but
won't be dated.
Yeah.
Are you thinking it might get outdated and then? we
Right.
don't know
the
about
sewer
it?
service area has changed how many times since it first started?
But it's such a process to change sewer service district area.
Well, we just did that one in Good Hope, right?
Yeah, but that took us 2 years to get that.
Well, the year.
you know.
Right, but so,
Took us-
I guess
me a year.
administratively, my point is every time literally we redo exhibit A, we're gonna have to bring it back to adopt the new version of ordinance.
But you're gonna be doing that in reverse anyway, because in order to adopt a new service area, the village board is gonna have to do it. You do it, it's the same part of the action. The village board changes the sewer service area.
Right.
Okay, and sewer pack and the DNR. When you go through that administrative process and that's the order it's done, you automatically change exhibit A, so you're not doing any more work. It's just part of the initial approval from the village board. Will include an updated exhibit A. You're gonna have it there anyway. So you're gonna be going through that process anyway, and as part of that process, you're gonna change it.
So if I don't put it there, where would we find I mean, at least if it was in this. There's gotta be a place for it. How do you keep your sewer service area defined?
It's an ordinance, I guess.
It's in-
We haven't changed it in a number of years.
What you probably do in your ordinance is refer to the latest sewer pack report, because that's the only thing that matters in the whole world. Is the adopted one, and in the back of that report, there is a copy of the ordinance adopting it at the local level.
So
The last
should we,
page.
so instead of exhibit A, should we refer to sewer tax?
No, I would just leave it in exhibit A, because you're gonna be using this. The one that's going to be physically attached to this is the one that's gonna be in the back of the latest sewer pack sewer service area amendment. They published the report, that's the official one. And that would be, you would attach it to this as exhibit A. It's already done, it's no additional work. Then the village board adopts that.
I suppose if it becomes burdensome, then it can be taken out later. I don't expect us to change our sewer service area often.
We didn't expect,
It was
we didn't
not.
expect for a single property on Good Hope to need to be in,
Yeah, I
here
didn't
we
either.
are.
It was the one.
Well, when you get the final report from the sewer pack on that, in the back of that report will be what we will refer to here as exhibit A, and that's what should be attached to this, because they'll give you an updated map. And that's the only one that matters in the whole world.
So then why can't we reference it?
You can, but I mean, the only thing you can do is say the latest sewer service area amendment. The problem with it is you start out with one and then you sewer pack and DNR amends it over time. So therefore, what you don't call it. I think it would be more cumbersome that way. I would just say leave it as exhibit A, and what you would attach to exhibit A is the latest sewer pack sewer service area. Or because you don't want to have two separate documents out there, because one is going to be wrong.
That actually defeats your argument. Because if there's two documents, we know sewer pack, yeah, that if we have exhibit A here and say in 5 years, somebody forgets to change exhibit A. Let's look at sewer pack.
The problem that Lisbon has got is it's got. Landon's got a sewer service area. Sussex has got a sewer service.
It's something worth.
Okay, but does that document also include Lisbon sewer service?
Yeah, it has Lisbon and Sussex, and when we do it, we have to get, whenever we change, we have to get Sussex's approval also, for a letter, so.
We don't have any flow going to Pewaukee.
No.
Well, we can refer to, yeah,
Well, I'll leave it highlighted, you know, we can continue thinking about it.
And Sussex doesn't even define sewer service area in the policy.
that's why they're updating.
Their whole, because their whole village is their sewer service area.
Sure, Town of Oconomowoc defines it. Exhibit A attached here too.
Right.
Hopefully- Oh, so this is where it comes.
No, it's-
The truth finally comes out 10 minutes into the conversation.
Give you an example, the town of Oconomowoc goes to 4 different sewer service areas. That's why we wanted to have one document that says, here's what it is. In the case of Lisbon, it's fairly simple.
Mark, what does Brookfield say, because the sanitary district is not served the entire town of Brookfield?
They just say sewage system.
They don't talk about the area, don't.
They have sanitary district. Sewerage system.
All theirs gets treated by the city of Brookfield.
But and not all of the village, all of the town.
Do we have
The
Menominee
city is
Falls?
divided into
Because
3
no.
different. It's some that goes to some that goes to Waukesha, some that goes to themselves, and
The city of Brookfield doesn't go to Waukesha.
I think some stuff down in the south end, but by Brookfield Hills and that. I don't.
The sewer service area in the sanitary district of Old Town of Lisbon said. Tell me the boundaries of the sanitary district.
But we don't have a sanitary district.
Just
No, I know.
like-
It just says the boundaries of.
I'm not sure. What's the difference of whether it stays in there as an attachment? I don't understand what the concern is.
That. It wouldn't be the current one.
That maybe someday somebody.
Maybe someday that it gets updated and it doesn't get. I mean, for-
Can't you just say, or as reflected in the current version of sewer pack?
Yeah.
Boundaries, or, you know,
that's what I'm saying.
add additional language to it.
We'll look at.
Well, you're really
la-
smart. We
la-
should do it that way.
We'll look at the last sewer pack document and see.
You
what
talked about
highlighting is.
Yeah, I think we just add the wording, because then it should just encompass whatever recent version, whether it gets updated or not, it's still, you still go to sewer pack.
Sure, I like it. Thank you for your support.
Are we gonna keep it to the A then? And? Or get rid of it?
I think you stay with exhibit A or the most recent sewer.
Sewer pack, sewer
Boundary.
service area.
Well. Or they can pick. You would almost have to say. Exhibit A, which should be the most up-to-date sewer pack publishing. Because if exhibit A was outdated and somebody wanted to use it as their leverage, they would say it says, or I don't want to use sewer pack.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have any standing because sewer pack and DNR would tell them, we don't care.
I guess I'm not looking for. I'm just looking for clarity's purpose.
Yeah, I understand.
I think I got it. I'll try it.
Sorry, exhibit A is term of
Okay, we'll say.
the.
Okay, so now we're on 83 to 91. $18.05.
I
One.
do have, so number 90 are the water, the people who will be the water customer that we're running water to now. Are we going to create, or are they gonna be part of our utility, or are they going to be billed specifically from Sussex?
Right now,
And will that ever change? I guess that's.
yeah,
what I'm-
and I think the future would be that it would be our own, but we have to go through, so we have to go through the PSC.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That takes
Yeah.
quite a long time to do. We have customers right now that are
Users.
Sussex.
Which are customers not of Lisbon, they're customers of the Sussex Water Utility.
I would just clarify number 90. Like it, making it like Sussex Water Utility.
That's what it does.
No, but meaning, because eventually, if you're going to have two separate water utilities.
Right.
If
So almost
you're,
have-
Name it,
What-
name it Sussex Water.
yeah,
Water utility should mean,
Then we need to do a.
That
word
of the
search and change
Village of
all the
Lisbon.
Water utility.
I mean, unless you want to go through and change it once that the Lisbon Water Utility is created, that's something different, but to me, there's not. It's confusing.
We may end
Okay,
up
so
in the
we'd end up with-
case
So
that
we
we
end
have
up with
two.
one that says Sussex Water Utility, shall mean the Sussex Water Utility, and Water Utility shall mean the village. So,
Yeah, we wouldn't put that in there now,
Water. We could put both.
because we don't have a utility.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you wanna go back and change definitions, that's what we're talking.
When we, if and when we ever create a water utility, there's gonna be changes made to this document.
Okay, then forget I said that.
I'll make it that. Make that.
And then we'll have to go back in the text and find where water utility is and change it to Sussex. Water
Yeah,
Utility.
I got it. No problem.
we could just leave it,
I don't
save
know.
printing costs. Words that up.
Freezer
Yeah.
chief.
So we have, anything on management, number one or number two, in 1505? Authority.
I mean, I thought, do we need alleys? We don't have any alleys,
We have
or is,
It's funny, because I saw it and I left it there. I don't know why. I did it. Right.
legally, is there a difference between road and street?
Some streets are labeled streets and some streets are labeled roads and flats.
Well, then you got courts and you got,
Lane.
yeah, lanes and.
Well, that's why I was thinking, should that say in and through the public roadways? I mean, why did we just say streets? What does that mean?
Because historically, roads were depicting unincorporated areas such as towns. And streets were incorporated areas. That's where that came from 100 years ago. And that's why it's in. It is what it is.
Are streets and roads defined in your current ordinance?
That's what I'm getting at. I don't think we have a single street name in our village. Name a street in our village.
They're all road drive.
Road, drive, port, lane,
Place.
place.
But if you look on a plat, it would say the dedication of all public rights of way, including streets, roads. Yeah, I believe it's in the surveyor's certificate of dedication that the village board accepts. That it refers to both. I don't know for a fact, but I believe it's in there. And it's a carryover, so there's no misconception about what's in there. Cause you'll see in the statutes, it will refer to public roadways.
Yeah, and I thought of it right away, but I want to, because you talked about it, Snyder, it's got three. When you have three.
Oh, yes.
Place, Red Fox, Run. You know, it's interesting when you think about it, you got Run, you got Ports, like you said, you got.
You sure do.
So, I mean, I don't know how you
That's
lay it out, but you do have multiple.
But is roadways referring to the roads?
Josh,
I think I could get with the alleys and put.
I don't think it.
Define street.
Yeah, does, I mean, we should probably look at our village code. Does it define it?
Yes,
Look at the
I think
statutes.
it's street.
There's a parkway. There's all sorts of different.
Yeah, I heard. Our chapter 3 is streets and highways.
We need to add highways in there.
But it's funny because it says damage to streets. No person shall damage or deface any street, highway, sidewalk, public way, park, or other public property.
Right, I want to make sure it's all.
That's open there, oh.
Okay, so we're gonna keep it just the way it is.
Or replace alleys.
Finds happy, that's in the highway.
Are you happy?
It's all about.
I think it's a purview of the chair to decide how to do it.
I don't know if we have too many of those or anything either.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make the money.
I'm just 1/5 of this.
No. We know.
All right. Are we on 3, grinder pump?
Mhm.
Yes.
This was gonna be the bulk of the discussion.
Do we need to take a short recess to use the bathroom, anyone? No? Plugging ahead.
Yeah, let's go.
This is gonna be 5 minutes.
Well, that's why I said. Should we just read this one aloud, just so we can hear it again? Individual grinder pumps, all buildings in which any building drain is too low to permit gravity flow to the public sewer system shall be lifted by a grinder pump or other artificial means approved by the village and discharged to the lateral proving sanitary sewer service.
Providing.
Yeah, I think that's. Sanitary sewer service to that building. All individual grinder pumps furnished to the property owner by the village shall be the property of the property owner. All individual connecting sewers installed by an individual property owner between a building or structure to which public sewer service is provided and the point of connection with the sewer main shall be the property of the individual property owner. I guess I'll stop there.
I think the first sentence is this. Wait, it's misdefined.
What is?
The first sentence is wrong, in my opinion. I can build a building that's too low to get into the gravity sewer just to avoid putting in gravity lateral. I can dig a hole and put in a house that's too low and can't get into the sewer in the street, so therefore I can use grinder pump, and it's not the way that it works. A building grade is set, and it's set to drain as much as possible into the gravity sewer system. It's not the other way around. The way this reads is that any building which is too low to permit gravity flow shall be, that just means I build the building that way. That's not how it works.
But if, so let me understand this. So what is the benefit that somebody would say, I'm just gonna dig mine lower, so, or put it up higher, so I need a grinder pump?
Because I saved the price of putting a lateral and it's 15 feet deep, and I only have to put a inch and a half or inch and a quarter line that's down 6 feet. The difference is substantial. We
As a
should never
property
be
owner, isn't that his
putting
right?
Grinder pumps, unless they're required, unless there's no other way of getting into that sewer.
But as a property owner, isn't that his right to figure out how to serve that property?
Yeah, but I have, the way this reads is I can set my building, I, as the property owner, can set my building rate. And that isn't how it works.
But it, so is there any reason why a grinder pump would be worse for our wastewater than? I know, I understand where it affects the property owner with costs, although making your house raise up higher, so you
Right.
can't do it, it's not inexpensive either, but. Is there anything in the wastewater where if it comes through a grinder pump that's better than if it goes?
No, as long as we require that everything from the main towards the house, including in the house, is their responsibility. Quite frankly, if it goes through a grinder pump, it's properly maintained, the sewage that's coming out of that grinder pump is more beneficial to the system than one that's flowing by gravity. Cause it's ground up.
So again, James said, wouldn't that be a property owner issue? Why would we worry about that?
I think part of
As-
what we have to do is recognize that the previous policy of the sanitary district is not going to be acceptable moving forward.
That's the
And I
crux
think-
to this whole.
But that's what I think, if we identify that on the front end of this, or at some point in this process, probably a front end would make it much
Right.
clearer. Then the rest of this should be fine. In the part of that first sentence talks about being approved by the village, so. Yeah, if I'm reading this correctly, if those buildings want to put in a grinder system, it still has to come to the village to be approved.
Well, it's gonna go to the plumbing inspector to approve it.
And then, but.
He's
at that
part of the
point, they
village.
would be responsible for the grinder and everything, not anything more. on
No,
it.
well, that's to me, that's the crux of this whole issue in three. As long as the village isn't responsible for anything from the main, I don't care if they put in whatever they put in. But we can't have. What we have to get through is get rid of is this dichotomy between before and after this date. That should all go away and say. If you have a grinder pump, it's your grinder pump from now until the end of the earth. If that's what you wanna put in. As long as it passes the plumbing code, you can have it. Who cares?
But. That's easy for you to say right now, because, but the people that have the grinder pumps that were said that they wouldn't have to get the grinder pumps. If they broke.
I think we need to
It's not
get
like
away,
they're
we
building
need to,
their house differently now, the house is already built, the system's already in. And we're taking away their right, so we have to come up with some kind of.
I don't think we're taking away the right. That's my position. You buy a car with a set of tires, okay? The tires are included in the price of the car. When the tires wear out, do I keep getting new tires and new tires and new tires and new tires? The sanitary district already gave them a grinder pump. They paid for as part of their assessment, maybe, I don't know, I don't think.
We all
anybody-
paid for it.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine. When it poops out, it's yours. When you build a house and all of a sudden your windows don't work anymore, does the builder come back and give you a brand new window?
No, I understand your point, you're
Yeah.
not arguing that with me, I understand that, yeah, that would be great. It's gonna be a big policy decision for our village board. If we're going to recommend that the village board. Deny the agreement that they made with all the people in the sanitary district that have grinder pumps currently. We change code all the time, and the legislature changes laws all the time. And you may have expected something and now it's changed, just like zoning changes,
Yes.
but,
Is this the time that you want to have those discussions?
I think so. I
Okay.
think we need to get something to the point where you're in agreement that a direction you'd like to suggest to the board. And we can bring it to the board to see if the board's even interested in making a change or leaving it as they did 3 years ago. When they said, this is the line in the sand, anybody after that is. Or if they want to, everybody from January 1 of 24, you are responsible for your own friend.
I've mentioned this before. I think it would be less of for all these people to come to us and start complaining. That, if you're presently on a grinder pump. We paid for it because that was the original agreement. Unbeknownst to all of us that sat in the audience, it was a well-kept secret. But if, well, you're an owner now, we cover. Once you sell, the new owner doesn't get that free grinder pump.
Well, you can play games
Yeah.
with the games and get around that.
Track of
No, you gotta have
houses
a,
ourselves.
pardon me?
We don't keep track of whose houses sell.
Oh, sure we do.
No.
No, we don't.
Re-
Not-
Realtors do, I do, we do as a
You do.
district.
But
Mike,
but
do you,
we don't.
you do title searches though, don't you?
No,
Do you get the titles?
Go through the actual.
That's true.
that
We
way.
do our assessment.
Because
Yes.
when, I mean, that's one of the processes that we learn when some of those, and you don't get 100% because of refinancing and that kind of thing, but that is. Or if you talk with the assessor to get those, to, you know, to maybe check with the assessor periodically to know when those.
We do get the
Properties.
assessment board.
We do the recent sale lists from the assessor's office.
We have to go through all of our grinder pump people. Yep.
When you buy a house, people or electric companies that want my service, so the same with here, that we send the bills to the name we know for the current occupant. The problem with that is the post office won't forward that mail forward. Because it's stuck. It would be better if we always knew the name of the owner. And we had some way of getting that name of the owner. We're made aware that there's a potential ownership change when the title company comes to us to find out about the bill. But there's nothing that was closes the loop, so I've got a woman, every time we get one of those requests, we keep going to the Waukesha County property record to see if the name changes and try to get the right name on the bill.
Can't you request that at the time that they request information from you? Please forward to us the name of the new buyer.
You can ask and they're not always gonna fill that out.
But what about
Yeah.
the post office?
No, but you're still talking the 47,
Yes,
34.
we're talking.
34.
potentially
34.
Forever and a day,
but,
buying 47 new grinder pumps every check.
but out of the whole grand scheme of thing, that's only 34 properties that you're managing. You're not looking for 5,000 properties,
That's
chicken
right.
cans. It's that list of 34.
But you have to understand the cost. We have paid as much as $20,000 to $25,000 when there's an issue. When we go through Debelic, I think Joe's person does it much more reasonable. But I'm just saying, sometimes it's a minor thing. I think they would take better care of these grinder pumps if it was theirs.
Okay,
No.
so I know where you're coming from. I don't know if what Dane was trying to say. Were you saying that it would be easy for us to manage these 32 to find out if they change ownership? That's where she was, she was agreeing with your assessment where if it changes property owners, then at that point, it becomes the responsibility of the property.
I'll tell you what, I'd be glad to being in real estate. I can find out after it closes or what's the name of the new buyer. I'd be glad to check that out and take that on to switch this over, because this is a horrendous price for people who are on the regular system that we have to pay for their grinder pumps, so their everything, this tank that we just paid for. How many other municipalities, when I did my checking on the south side, we didn't pay for it, or they don't pay for it. Like,
Where in the current policy does it say this July 1st, 2020 date?
on the
That
bottom,
was- That was that.
Oh, that's the new.
But where's the original one? Did you send us that said that the original agreement or original ordinance that said the sanitary district will purchase these, and does it say anything about replacement?
It just says that
Connected, yeah.
connect as of July 1st of 2020, that you are now responsible for.
Okay, that's this one. Where's the original one? Where's the original one when the district was created that said that that is the responsibility of the sanitary district? That's what I'm looking for. I know where the new one was that you came and got from Hamlis's office, and we have that. That's from that date going forward. Where's the original one and what does that say?
I don't think it was ever written myself.
Well, it,
Has to be, you think what has to be?
well, it's gotta be
Hamlis
somewhere.
has got to be,
And it says the sanitary district. is responsible for drainage. And it just-
What does it mean? What is response?
What does that mean? Yeah,
What is the exact wording?
Yeah, I'll get the original one here, or the one that was in place when I took over. And it effectively said that the sanitary district was responsible for the current maintenance.
I wanna see what that says, cause I'm just curious what it says.
Yeah, so repair and maintenance, that doesn't say replacement,
yeah,
right?
you're right. Doesn't say-
Repair, maintenance.
Yeah,
So to that end, I also would think, I kind of agree with what you're saying. I also think those that have been replaced within the last 5 years, you're on your own. You're on your own. This is yours moving forward, figure out what that finite time is. And because a 5-year-old pump, when it's supposed to be a 15-year-old or whatever, life of a pump, you have value there. You're not getting a 20-year-old pump that you now have to replace on your own.
right.
There could be that finite date that says, as of anyone who has a pump installed from 2017, up to 2017, that pump and system is all on you.
I don't think that the village of Lisbon has records that are good enough to dictate which ones have been replaced and not, and what extent of maintenance.
But Mike's been around for
Mike's
5
got
years,
it.
so
Did
Mike's
you see
got the
this?
stuff for the last
For
5
5
years.
years. I'm worried about the one from 2010.
We have the record of when the original was installed. We
Yeah,
we went back.
10, 14, 15, yeah.
The date that the pump is in there now, when was it installed?
Okay, what I'm saying is these pumps are only good for 10 or 15 years. We're looking at potentially 34 new pumps forever.
Right.
That, I have a problem with that. I don't think that we've already given them
Yes.
the sanitary district, not the town or the village of Lisbon. The sanitary district already included in their assessment, however the heck the mumbo jumbo was done, they got a pump. Okay, your pump pooped out. Go and buy a new one. It's yours. And you take care of your lateral to the main, you
Yeah.
take care of your connection at the main, you take care of your controls, your pump, your enclosure, everything. I don't think that that's unfair or unjust.
I don't think the district should have to pay for our property on a private property. You know what I'm saying?
There is no district anymore. All
Well,
there is
okay,
is
commission,
village.
the public service, okay.
No, all there is the village of Lisbon. There's no sanitary.
I don't think the
district.
village should have to pay for equipment that we call ours because we repair it on private property. It's private property.
But do you understand that your
Yes.
lateral, you are responsible in public
Yes.
property also?
Yes,
Okay, so it's everything. It's everything from the point of connection
yes.
back.
So if you, take a look at the Lisbon code, I gave you all the copy of that, actually, I have all of this.
Okay.
Is it this one?
On page 27, maintenance and service, down in that paragraph.
Okay, where is it? It's a pile of stuff.
Just curious, is the consensus of this committee and the board, the majority want to wash their hands of grinder pump? going
Yes.
forward? I mean, that's
Yes.
right, everybody's on the same page there, or there's gonna be
I-
like a weird vote and all of a sudden we're gonna go backwards here. I'm just
That's in my position.
My position is, that's what I said, I would do it personally to the present owners and the new owner doesn't get it. Or just knock it off, whatever. Either way, I'm happy with, but I just think it's an exorbitant expense to put out there.
Thank you.
So the current, well, like
What page is it on?
27.
Kathy, do you have another one? More of
Says the
those?
sanitary district shall maintain sanitary sewer service within the limits.
I don't have that with me.
I gave you all,
I don't have it with me.
I gave it to you last month.
I don't have it with me.
Oh,
You want me to read it?
you want to-
Should I just read it?
Yes,
Maintenance of services 1.07. Sanitary district shall maintain sanitary sewer service within the limits of the sanitary district. The sanitary district shall be responsible for maintaining the interceptors, sanitary sewer mains, lift stations, and other appurtenances which have been dedicated to the sanitary district. The sanitary district shall also maintain grinder pump stations and grinder pumps provided. However, that where damage is caused to a grinder pump or grinder pump station by the negligence or carelessness of the property owner or any tenant or other occupant of the property, the cost of repair and or replacement shall be assessed against the property. Charges shall be imposed in accordance with paragraph 1.03 sub 5E of this code. Sub 2, the property owner shall be responsible for the cost of installing the initial grinder pump, as well as for the cost of electrical hookups so as to make the grinder pump serviceable. The property owner shall also be responsible for installing and maintaining the sanitary sewer service lateral.
So that to me says that the entity is responsible for maintaining those stations, and I'm saying my position is that should change. It does not say anything to the effect that it's from now until the end of the earth.
I agree.
Yeah, so is this the current code?
That's currently what we have. And that's why we're creating something. to be different. We gave this to everyone.
I'm on the same page, I believe, with Joe, is that
I am too.
there isn't anything defined in here that says we are gonna replace your pump until forever of the system.
How many of us have furnaces? That's not, we're on our
A
own.
roof, whatever it is.
Yeah, a roof, whatever.
This was the, where the July.
Yeah, I
1st,
have that.
2020
Thank you, dear.
But this was never adopted correctly, correct?
No,
Yeah, it was.
that's-
Yeah, it was.
And I think the rationale behind this is if you have, as an example, two adjacent parcels. And one was never built on before the magic date of this amendment to the code. And the other one was back in 2010. Why should one person's already getting a benefit, the other person is, because they got a grinder pump maintained and provided by the sanitary district. This new one gets nothing. They're identical parcels, they're identical houses. I think the equity is that you already got something, you already got $10,000 to $15,000 included that you paid for. And now the useful life of that is over. This was never intended to last forever.
That's how they sold it to Wooded Hills
Well,
years
I
ago.
think a lot of the stuff was shoveled and a
Oh.
lot of it was,
Absolutely.
well, I think we're,
Well,
We're
actually,
past that now.
if you read the sub D on page 3,
on the new one,
on this 4-page one.
yeah, that's the new one.
From and after July 1st, 2020, the property owner shall be responsible for all costs associated with the installation, maintenance, repair, and if necessary, replacement of any grinder pump, installation of which is required in order to provide sanitary sewer service to any property located within the sanitary district.
And I think that should be retroactive back to day one. That's
Right,
the new
it-
stuff.
This here does not say,
As a, this way.
yeah, but it doesn't just limit it. I think it's all encompassing.
No, but it's got the date
So
there,
I
though.
don't think, I think sub D on page 3, whatever that is, 7D, I think it would be, is in conflict with 1C.
So your belief is that this change on whenever heck the date was retroactive.
I think from and after July 1st, the sanitary district, now the village of Lisbon, does not replace any grinder pump.
Exactly.
Or repair.
Or
Yeah.
maintained.
They're on their own from July 1st.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
the second one is pretty clear.
Well, yeah,
From and after July first, 2020, the property owner shall be responsible for all
Yes.
costs associated with the installation, maintenance, repair, and if necessary, replacement of any grinder pump. This installation of which is required in order to provide sanitary sewer service to any property located within the sanitary district.
Yeah, but.
It does not say new. It does not say
If you
new.
Go to 1C and the
It's a
first page, that's
replacement.
where the problem,
Well, I know there's a problem, but they're in conflict.
yes.
So whatever.
So that's what it is, this is C and the next one is D.
And-
Which is the second. Part.
So
This is
terrible.
an A, it's exactly.
I mean, this is-
So-
This is not clear at all.
No, I can see what you're saying
Oh,
now.
but see, C says this is what happens before, and D says this is what happens after that.
Yeah, but when Mark is saying that, and the one can read it that way, that one is a statement of the way things work.
Or,
And things are from this date forward, the property owner shall be responsible. That's what's the
I
question.
think I'll get an opinion from my attorney. If we reach it the same way, then we wouldn't have to deal with it out.
I think we need to, and
Well,
get Joe out of the damn grinder pump business. He's got enough things to do. He can plow snow in front of my street.
he's the one that drew this up though, isn't he?
No,
Amos did.
Amos did.
Emma's did, okay. But it says clearly before the July 20th, we pay, after July 1st, I should say, they pay.
But it doesn't say, oh, from and after.
Yes,
July.
this is before, on or before, and then it says on or after. From on and after July 1st. They pay. It's kind of clear.
And just imagine what Mr. Bass is going to say.
If it's- if it's- if
But it's our
a question,
decision.
It should be changed.
Yes,
Pardon
well,
me?
I think that regardless. Even if he agrees and the board agrees that. Things are okay, we're out of the grinder pump business, I think we need to have something codified in the new ordinance that makes it clear, black and white in spades.
Yes,
So there's no question, and let the chips fall where they may, and I think that people, if and when they complain. My response, if they ask me, is you already got 15 or 20 years worth of work out of something that's only good for 10 or 15
it's
years.
1990.
You got whatever you got.
So our code. I mean, we'd only be looking at the code, so. If we put our new code in the way that. If this specifically allows us to do the July 1st, 2020. Or, yes, we don't even have to have a date, we just say as of this code.
The adoption of the code. Yeah.
Adopting the code, this is the rule.
Reading this now, I don't think this big elephant is in the room. I think my opinion is clear.
That kind of really clears up the discussion on grinder pumps.
Sure makes life simple to finish. the
Sure
rest of the
does.
ordinance up.
So.
And I mean, and if there's any contestation to it, really, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 properties of the 34 that have complaints against it.
And quite frankly, whatever happened prior to the incorporation of the village. Is immaterial because the village had nothing, the town had nothing to do with the sanitary district. It is what it is.
All right, so that's all I have for you on this. Bring back some more code. The next meeting.
Only, I guess, in that grinder pump thing.
Yeah.
We defined private sewer system prior to. Do we have to include that as part of that first sentence?
Where are you, Mark?
So three, whatever that is, introductory paragraph,
Mm-hmm.
all buildings in which
Oh, I got you, I
any
got you.
building drain is too low to permit gravity flow to the public sewer system.
But a private one, we're not responsible at all.
That comes under a different set of rules.
Okay.
With the commerce.
I just want to make sure we weren't.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Definitely.
So for clarity's sake, we're gonna direct you to
Thank you.
make the changes.
I'll, I'll,
Prize attorney,
we'll make the review. That was approved. And then see if he comes up with the same thing.
Oops, gotta go over the budget yet, sorry.
We'll continue working. Connected.
Thank you, everyone.
you don't have to deal with anything on the budget?
Oh, I just went down that.
Yep,
Yes.
yeah, we're not done with stuff.
We have to do that yet tonight?
so close, I had one.
I know. Me too.
7C, discussion and necessary action regarding 2024 draft budget and recommendation of village board of same.
So the question is, where did this come from?
Mike does this.
I don't know if I have one of mine.
I don't see.
Oh, there it goes. I apologize, I do. I guess, Mike, do you want to highlight any major changes?
I think the page you want to take focus on first is page two. Yeah, the assumption for revenue. So you have a history of the rec going back to the beginning of the schedule where it was $90. And then when we were having our problems with Janine, it went up to $220. Then we brought it back to $150. And I'm recommending that we raise it this year to $155 because you're losing the tax levy. So you're losing $50,000 in revenue that you had in the past. Unless you can get rid of some of the administrative costs that the utility had. But we're still paying all those costs. So
Wait,
my recommendation would be to raise it $5 a quarter.
We're removing the tax levy.
The
When you-
Lisbon sanitary district has the ability to levy.
Right.
The community system does not have the ability to levy, it has to go against the ability to levy.
Yeah, you lose your ability to tax.
And then you have to do a fund transfer to the utility.
So would $5 make up for what we're not able to?
It allows us to operate on page one. With a operating loss of $29,000, which is almost all depreciation. So from a cash perspective, it's a cash break to the budget.
The only comment I would make is that we, going forward, and I mentioned this to Kathy when we were working on the ordinance. We need to create a replacement fund. Which should have been created, not a depreciation fund, a replacement fund with cash in it. For those things which should be in a replacement fund. And I don't know if we're gonna be able to do that this year with this transition from a sanitary district to the village. But I think we need to keep that in mind because that should be an ongoing expense that we budget for and provide income.
So of the amounts that were in the sanitary district on the taxes, how much was that?
$50,000.
Came out of 50,000. And so, this quarterly $5 is gonna make up the 50,000.
Along with the commercial rate changes. There's not a lot that's going on. You've lost the cost of the commissioners. You'll reduce the cost of the audit because the big utility audit will be of the village and it will be a fund of the village, so it'll be negotiated in the big utility audit. So you've lost a little bit, the tax levy was always there to cover the administrative fund. So when you lose administrative costs, you don't have to have that tax levy. But we are still operating at a lower margin because Sussex is going to raise the cost of processing sewer. And that's going to pass through the maintenance. And so if you want to have a break-even budget, you're going to have to raise the rate because Sussex is down, we're going to go 67%.
So why don't we pass that through to users?
Well,
Why can't we pass that through to users?
we do, that has to go into the quarterly charge. That's what the user pays.
Mhm.
what the $5 rating. The commercial accounts it passed.
So the quarterly rate goes to everybody in the sanitary district?
On service.
Just the service.
Just
So
the
the
service.
people that are.
Based on
in
that rec, so.
So what is that yearly charge? That all sanitary district members?
It's right now it's $150 a quarter. Or $600.
No, I think he's talking about the tax.
Yeah, I'm talking about the one that goes on the
I
tax.
think it was
No, it was
51.
No, it's
But
more.
But the tax was spread over everybody in the sanitary.
I paid
district,
for
not
I did
just
too.
the
it, you paid for
You're in this, you're not in the sanitary
it.
district.
No,
No,
You didn't, you
paid
didn't pay for it.
Yes.
yes, I did, because it was paid for.
But
No,
No,
no, you didn't pay for it.
Only the people that were in the sanitary district paid
Yeah.
it on their tax.
Whether they were on sewer
no,
or
it
not.
wasn't. No, it went across everybody.
No.
shouldn't,
It
no.
was the properties that were assigned to the sanitary district by the village are included in the sanitary district's tax base.
You're not
And that
talking about
includes
stormwater.
Many properties that do not have sanitary service.
So the total amount of what we put on our taxes for the sanitary district, the collect for the sanitary district was $50,000. What he just explained was that we don't need the extra 50,000. Because it was supposed to cover administrative costs.
So right now, you still have about $25,000 a year administrative cost, but you don't have a tax bill. You gotta make up that difference. And then you gotta make up what Sussex is gonna do in reaching its charging to the residential.
But don't we charge a portion to the sanitary district people? Don't we charge a portion of that for?
It doesn't
For
exist
the
anymore.
the people that are in the sanitary, or in the,
Sewer
sewer
service.
service district. Thank you. They right now, or last year got charged. They're not gonna get charged that extra on their fee, but because we're going to be doing Baker Tilly, we'll be picking up the extra, but that's gonna cost us more.
Yeah.
So should all of the taxpayers pay that, or should we be funneling a portion of our audit to the people in the sanitary, in the sewer
Yes.
service?
You can't do it. You can't tax. Now that you're a village and there's no longer a sanitary district, I don't believe you can carve out a part of the village and charge them different than they charge me. You can't, because you don't have a
But we
taxing
can
authority.
through the rate.
Right.
I think what Kathy is saying
User rates.
Yeah.
is the money that would be received from increasing the user rates. Part of that would go to offset the increase in the Baker Tilly audit
Yes.
cost.
As an
as well.
example.
Yes.
Yes.
But now we also have the Leeds property. That's gonna be part of all of this. And yet,
But they pay direct. So. it's-
no taxes and stuff in the Baker Tilly
But
thing.
that's all in the TIF.
They're
We're
in
not gonna
TIF, so
see
they're-
that for 20 years.
You're not gonna see it for 20 more years.
Right.
Okay,
So
You're right.
I think we could go with what is being presented of tonight for this coming year until we can straighten this mess out.
yes.
Because I believe that by a year from now, we're gonna be in a lot better case as far as the accounting for this whole sewer and water entity. And if you feel comfortable, Kathy, in that the $5 is gonna cover the additional expense that we're going to incur, then we'll put it in the user charge, assuming we can go ahead and do that.
Right, but as Mike mentioned, he took out some extra administrative costs. And that's why he thinks going to $5 would be enough. I'm just saying, do we really need to consider a rate of $160 a quarter to cover? What is because we're not really losing anything. He's still doing all the work for us. So we're still paying him.
Well, according to this
Yeah.
front, yeah,
We still have to do an audit. And although the audit is going to be part of the village audit, a portion of that is going to increase our
Right.
costs. Because that piece is gonna be in there.
I think your audit costs are gonna be a wash. I think that's just gonna be the same. I think,
Right now, with the contract, it's going to increase.
Yeah.
I would think that they're gonna.
They're gonna
right
want
now,
more
they
money.
have- We have a contract with them that says this is how much for our audit, and then they do they did the sanitary district, and they were paid so much for that.
I'm just saying that I think whether it's through the sanitary district or through the village, the utility is still the utility. So I don't think
We
the
don't have a
audit,
utility.
you're not saving any money being a village. The funds are still
You're
there.
gonna just raise the one that the village pays to.
Right.
Yeah.
offset what you're.
Cover the costs.
Yeah, because we don't have a utility anymore. We only have one bucket. We can take the money out of the whole thing. And we can put the additional cost for things such as that in the user charge, which is the $5 increase, which should cover us for next year. And then between now and then, we straighten this out.
Before, I don't wanna be short.
Yeah,
Right.
I understand why go 160 instead of.
I just wanna make sure we're making up the 50,000.
Yes.
We
It-
can't cut ourselves from the 50,000. We're cutting 50,000 off of our budget from last year.
Yes.
And we don't have anything we're actually cutting 50,000 out, so we still have all these things.
Well, I don't know where the income statement is in through there. Where's the income here based upon the $155?
In the past,
On the charges for services and.
Okay.
sales.
So it's 448 minus 419, and that's why we have the deficit of 29. And you're saying that we already have 72,000 in there for depreciation. You're saying that 72,000 and the 29 deficit plus the decrease in these costs that we're not gonna be doing anymore offset each other.
What I'm
That's where
saying
you're-
is the costs that, I don't agree that the costs we're not going to be doing. The costs are still there.
Right,
The-
It's just-
the-
it's coming out of the yeah,
It has to come out of the rate.
Right,
Well-
so what happens is the village has to raise its mill rate. Or its assessed base.
Or
for
the
what?
people that are using the sanitary,
to pay more.
the sewer.
we always pay
Service.
more taxes than they do, than the sewer district. We pay a little more taxes, don't we?
But not anymore.
But now it'll be a user charge and not.
But I'm just,
I understand what your concern is, and I think that I'd rather be conservative, and if we've gotta go up to $10, so be it. And see where we are, because next year will be the first fiscal year that we'll be able to prove this thing out.
Mhm. In the past, especially when we went from the 220 down to the 150, I had asked Mike several times, is that gonna cover everything? Is that gonna cover everything? I said, don't we want to raise it a little bit? And he said, no, go over all the figures, just like he explained tonight. And Mike is very good at what he does.
I'm not,
Oh, I know that. I'm just saying, if he says 155, it's 155 and we'll reassess in a year.
155 gets you to a break. Now we're getting into the
Right.
discussion to realize that.
Right, exactly.
You're not putting enough money in the replacement reserve. We've always put what depreciation amount is into the replacement reserve.
Mhm.
But that isn't gonna do it, if you're depreciating historical costs, but you have to replace with current costs. So there should be more money going into the replacement reserve than it is for now. I don't remember what the replacement reserve off the top of the head, but it's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I mean, and we're going to,
To raise rate.
as an example, the Richmond pump station is gonna have to be replaced. And that's gonna be buku bucks, and the money to pay for that should be coming from the replacement fund.
No,
And
it comes
yes.
from the school pays for it.
No.
And the fire
okay,
station.
let's not do,
Yeah.
Richmond. Let's do land and intercept.
Right,
And so the land and
Okay.
intercept has to be redone.
Right, okay,
Cause we know that's coming up, we're getting real close with Nominee Falls is using up to their max. And they're gonna need more, so we're gonna be looking at maybe, some extra costs. And I did mention it to Jeremy, ask him if that's something that he can give us a kind of an idea, so we know that we can budget, 50,000 each year, or if we have to, for the next 5 years, kind of give me an outlook on when this thing might be
ready for replacement.
But that is gonna be, I don't think it's gonna be replacement. Pump stations have to have the equipment replaced. The sewer itself is good for 50 years and depreciate, but you're absolutely
I'm just
right.
saying.
There's money that's gotta be done. And let's not talk about the Richmond pump station. Let's talk about one of the other ones. We need to have money to pay for that. And we need the depreciation to take care of it. There should be a replacement fund established that we put money into, so the money's there when we need to
And it
replace.
It looks like in 2017, you put $2,320 in replacement.
That's not even close.
That's in the investment side of the cash. You have to look at the reserve. Restricted reserve. Right now is right now $500,000.
And that's
Not
not
gonna
enough.
take care of it. But, I mean, we don't know what that number is, and Jeremy couldn't give me. He wasn't ready, as I said, we should be putting money aside, but I agree.
We should establish replacement funds with, based upon a schedule that needs to be derived. So we know how short we are for the things that should be in the replacement fund, which according to DNR should be anything that's 20 years or less. And those pump stations, I believe out there are more than that, so we should have money in there to replace.
I don't know if we're gonna have that information for this budget
No,
cycle.
that's what. I'm
Well,
saying.
I do agree. I think where you're leaning, Kathy, was to increase it to say 160. It's kind of a palatable number for our customers. And then a year from now,
We'll be
we'd
a lot
hopefully
smarter
have a
than we are
better
today.
handle on what those replacement fund numbers would need to be.
I think
So
we-
to keep
yeah.
things moving
Yeah,
along.
propose that 155, you go to 160, me as a taxpayer, where I'd be like $20 a year more than what you thought you were gonna do, so 40 total. Come on.
Yeah,
But you're not, that's a user fee.
gas is gonna cost you more than that.
But it is a user fee,
Not everybody's gonna see it though.
Yeah, right, the people that use it.
just the user.
I wouldn't see, I'm just saying though, if I got that bill personally, I'm not gonna get it, I'm just saying, if I saw it and somebody said, hey, we had to increase it 20 or 40, at the end of the day, it really
It's
matters.
still very low.
Who's gonna complain
In-
about
Well,
that?
somebody,
It's still
I
very low.
know, but that's one person out of.
If it went down
$160,
$5. you gotta replace.
so
It's still very low.
are we done with this topic then? 160 is what it is.
I could
I
support
don't
$160
make a vote. I don't
dollars a
vote,
quarter.
so.
And
Do we need to make a recommendation to town board tonight for that?
Well, no, I would put this in the budget. I mean, I would get it
Okay,
in the proposed budget.
and I would say put it on.
I would go 155, my
Mike,
vote.
Is it considered a fee or is it
It's a
considered a?
user charge.
It's
who
a-
wants 155? Who, committee members of us five, who wants 155? One, who wants 160? 160.
And I'm the only one that pays for it. But that's not why, that's not why.
Mike, I have a question of you.
I would
Yeah,
I would also recommend that the budget move some of the money out of the unrestricted fund into the restricted fund. There's the unrestricted funds right now at $480,000.
See, we do
One
it,
of the problems that you have is, if you go back to the University of Wisconsin, when they had too much unrestricted funds, government got concerned about it. So if you're gonna raise the rates, you wanna reduce the unrestricted funds. So as a
Yes.
budget, I would say that somewhere in the way of approving this budget, inside of the budget itself, you're gonna make a motion to restrict another $200,000 or $300,000 to replacement to meet what Joe is talking about and reduce that unrestricted funds. Because the idea of a utility is that the unrestricted fund, your operations should just keep your unrestricted funds where they are. They're at a reasonable level. What is a reasonable level of unrestricted funds? Some people say it's 1 year's cost of expenses. Some people say it's 3 months worth of expenses. All right, your cash flow expenses, but you gotta figure it out. But I believe the 480 is a little higher than we wanted. My predecessor, when he was doing the work, he kept telling the sanitary district board, your unrestricted funds were too high, so they kept reducing the rate, which is not the right thing to do. The thing to do is restrict it.
It's how the city of New York went broke.
But isn't that And is that gonna be or something we should put in an ordinance, or is that a policy decision? Because that should be written
Well, it's
As a policy.
as somehow
Get
that
to a percentage.
this is
Whatever
what,
the percentage is,
right.
it automatically goes over certain.
or like you said, if it's 1 year's operations, or, that's a board decision to decide whether or not it's gonna be a 1 year or a 3 month.
But now is a 480,000 in replacement enough for right now?
Oh,
We don't
no,
know.
no.
Exactly, that's what I'm just saying.
Okay, so we will straighten that out between now and a year from now and get it taken care of. We don't know enough to make an intelligent decision. We don't wanna go short on this thing, so.
You're still, even by going to 110, you're still, for your rate, you're still making out because you're not paying the $50 on the back.
Right, I understand that. I'm just saying, a lot of people say, oh, just because we're becoming a village now, their costs are going up. That's all. And I would just like to keep it as low as possible. As we can, if
Well,
that's
you
all
have
we
to be
need.
realistic. Everything else around you is going up, and you can't sell the utilities short. Just
I know,
because
I know,
it is not just because we became a village. These are all the shortcomings of the sanitary district
know.
over the years.
I
And
know,
now we've recognized them, and we have to do something to make it better.
yeah. I know,
My question to you, we were collecting on every $1,000 of assessed value. The town was collecting 24 cents. That was showing up on people's tax bill for the sanitary. Where is that showing up previous in this?
It's on the lower, it says the tax levy, $50,000. So on the bottom last line of the first page, you see the tax levy.
I thought you were dropping that.
No, we are, it's now 0.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So that 24 cents that sanitary district members of a whole, whether you were a user or not, that was $50,000.
You paid that first.
I did, I paid
And
67,
it came
31.
in cash.
Mhm.
No, I just, it's good to let people know where it isn't coming from anymore.
Yep,
We're gonna be a lot smarter.
So
Do a policy that moves whatever, whatever, when the percentage gets to whatever, what we want it to be automatically moved through the
Give
replacement.
you a frame of reference, the operating costs we're projecting are about $308,000. So your unrestricted funds are 438. So if you were taking the most conservative 1 year operating expense approach, you have to. Right, now, how much money do you want to leave in there? You have one, you put money in the restricted fund, you can always pass a resolution to take it out. But if it's in restricted funds, nobody can criticize if you have too much money, like pay money that you can use any way you want.
So your restricted funds are not necessarily designated as the replacement funds.
But you could.
The replacement fund is the name of an account that we have, that's an asset, it's the name of a special account that we have at LGIP. So, yeah, that's just the name of an account. Okay, what is really critical, what the DNR looks at, is what is your restricted fund balance for reserve for property replacement. And we've met the requirement for DNR,
Yeah,
we're there.
I know I saw it before in the
But
CMAR.
the trouble with that is that is never enough.
Oh, yeah.
So if Russia decided to drop a bomb on Lisbon, and you had to replace that sanitary district, you have no ability to do it. You
That's
have
not
to
even a
call-
replacement of one lift station.
Well, one lift station, their lift stations are pretty well maintained.
Yeah, but they're going.
Yeah, but there's still age.
Yeah, so how long is everything there? Replace one of those pumps?
So
wait, so do we have any action that we need to take out of 7C?
Do you
I
have
think
what
they
you
need to
need?
come back for the next meeting with a policy on unrestricted funds for, your service. If it's different, I need to check to see if we have an unrestricted already for Lisbon. I know I had one in Washington, but I don't know if we have one here, and see if we can be that comparable for this one.
you're not gonna commingle the funds though, will,
I missed the policy. So if we have one policy for the rest of the town, it should be consistent with the top policy for this fund as well. So I'm not saying that we're taking the money and moving it in. It is all town money, all village money. All of it, the sanitary, the sewer service, that's all village money. We just are keeping it as a enterprise fund into it. So
We'll get it straightened.
Okay. Do we have any actions to take to the village board though?
no, I don't see any.
Anyone else have a motion for adjournment?
I second.
I will not be here next month. But you guys have.
Moving on to adjournment, a motion was made by Mr. Everly, seconded by Beal. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Meeting closes at 8:20.
These meetings are getting longer and longer.
Because we're actually doing something.